What does it really mean to be strong? Not loud, not aggressive, not invincible, but unshakable. The kind of strength that doesn't break under pressure, doesn't run from discomfort, and doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. That kind of strength doesn't come from the outside. It's built from within. Welcome to How to Build True Inner Strength with Stoicism, Complete Guide. For over 2,000 years, Stoicism has helped people develop the quiet power of inner resilience through discipline, clarity, and radical self-honesty. This guide isn't about pretending to be strong, it's about becoming strong by mastering your thoughts, managing your emotions, and choosing virtue over impulse. You'll learn how to stay grounded in chaos, how to remain calm in conflict, and how to stand tall when life tests you, because it will. True inner strength is built moment by moment, choice by choice. And it starts right here. Let's begin. Have you ever wondered how some people seem to maintain calm and serenity even in the most difficult situations? Many of them have found wisdom in Stoicism, a philosophy that isn't just for ancient Roman philosophers. Its principles are practical and useful for all of us, regardless of the era we live in. The best part is that you don't need to be a scholar to understand and apply these principles. What I want to share with you are 10 Stoic habits that, if applied consistently, can resolve 95% of your problems. Yes, they are that powerful. The foundation of Stoicism rests on the understanding that we cannot control external events, but we can control our responses to them. This ancient wisdom, developed by philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, offers us practical tools for navigating life's challenges with grace and resilience. These habits aren't abstract concepts, but actionable practices that can be integrated into your daily routine immediately. One of the most fundamental principles of Stoicism is the dichotomy of control. This habit focuses on concentrating our energy on what we can control while accepting with serenity what we cannot. The wisdom of this approach is incredibly powerful and can completely change our perspective on problems. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, said, "It's not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about those things." This quote perfectly captures the essence of this habit. What causes us anguish isn't what happens, but how we interpret and respond to what happens. Imagine you're trapped in a traffic jam. It's a frustrating situation, right? But in reality, the traffic jam itself has no power over you. What stresses you is your reaction to the jam. Maybe you worry about being late or feel like you're wasting time. But if you apply the dichotomy of control, you'll realize that you can't control the traffic, but you can control how you respond to it. You can use that time to listen to a podcast, practice deep breathing, or simply accept that you'll arrive when you arrive. Why does this habit work? Because it frees us from unnecessary frustration and stress. When we stop spending energy on things we can't change, we can concentrate our energy on what we can change. This not only makes us more effective, but also calmer and happier. This principle is like a muscle that you can strengthen with practice. The more you focus on controlling your own actions, thoughts, and reactions while calmly accepting what's outside your control, the more serene and resilient you'll become. How can you start practicing this habit in your daily life? Every time you find yourself in a difficult situation, pause and ask yourself, "Can I control this?" If the answer is yes, think about what you can do to improve the situation. If the answer is no, work on accepting the situation as it is and focus your energy on something you can control. Embracing mindful presence. The practice of mindfulness and awareness of the present moment may sound very modern and perhaps remind you of meditation, but the truth is that Stoics were already talking about this centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote, "Trust in the present, because only in the present can you live." This phrase is an invitation to concentrate on what's happening here and now, instead of worrying about the past or the future. Why is it so important to live in the present moment? Well, to begin with, the present is the only thing we really have. The past is gone, and the future hasn't arrived yet. When we focus on the present, we can enjoy life more and better handle difficult situations. Think about this. How many times have you been physically present in a place but your mind was elsewhere? Maybe you were thinking about something that went wrong in the past, or worrying about something that might happen in the future. This not only robs you of the opportunity to enjoy the moment, but can also increase your stress and anxiety. The practice of mindfulness helps us anchor ourselves in the present. It allows us to fully experience what's happening around us and within us. This doesn't mean you ignore the past or future, but that you learn not to get trapped in them. Why does this habit work? Because it gives us clarity and focus. When we're present, we're more aware of our thoughts and emotions. This allows us to respond more thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. Additionally, being present helps us appreciate the small things in life, which can increase our happiness and overall well-being. You can start practicing mindfulness through conscious breathing. Take a few minutes each day to simply focus on your breath. Observe how air enters and leaves your body. This can help calm your mind and return you to the present moment. Practice observation without judgment when you face a situation. Try to observe it without judging it. Just notice what's happening without adding your interpretations or judgments. Focus on simple tasks. Whether washing dishes, walking, or eating, do it with full attention. Feel the water on your hands, observe your steps, or savor each bite of food. By incorporating these small habits into your daily routine, you'll start to notice a change in your ability to be present and enjoy life more. One of the most fundamental pillars of Stoicism is practicing virtue. Virtue, in the Stoic context, refers to living a life of moral excellence, guided by wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Seneca said, "Virtue is the only true good." For Stoics, virtue isn't just an abstract ideal, but a daily practice. It means acting with integrity, doing what's right even when it's difficult, and living according to our deepest values. Why is it so important to practice virtue? Because virtue is what allows us to live in harmony with ourselves and others. It gives us a moral compass that guides us through difficult decisions and helps us stay firm in our convictions. Imagine you're in a situation where someone treats you unfairly. You might react with anger or resentment, but that would only lead to more conflict and stress. Instead, if you practice virtue, you can choose to respond with patience and understanding. This not only helps you maintain calm, but can also transform the situation in a positive way. Why does this habit work? Because virtue connects us with the best of ourselves. It helps us act from a place of wisdom and compassion instead of fear or selfishness. When we live according to our values, we feel more authentic and fulfilled. Additionally, virtue tends to generate a domino effect. When we act virtuously, we inspire others to do the same. The practice of virtue requires constant self-reflection and the courage to do what's right even when it's uncomfortable. It means being honest in our dealings, showing compassion to those who suffer, standing up for justice even when we're in the minority, and exercising self-control in our desires and impulses. This isn't about perfection, but about the sincere effort to improve and align our actions with our highest values. The reflection on death, also known as memento mori, may sound somewhat somber, but in reality, it's a practice that helps us live more fully and with greater purpose. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." This reflection isn't meant to depress us, but to remind us of the fragility and brevity of life, which in turn motivates us to make the most of every moment. Why is it important to reflect on death? Because it helps us put things in perspective. Many times we worry about small and trivial things that, in the grand scheme of life, don't matter that much. By remembering that our life has a limit, we can focus on what really matters: our relationships, our values, and our passions. Imagine you have an argument with a friend. In the heat of the moment, it might seem very important to be right or win the argument. But if you remember that both your life and your friend's life are finite, that perspective can help you step back, value the friendship over the disagreement, and seek a peaceful resolution. Why does this habit work? Because it gives us clarity and helps us prioritize. It reminds us that we don't have all the time in the world, so we must be intentional about how we use it. It frees us from trivialities and allows us to focus on what really makes us happy and fulfilled. You can practice memento mori by meditating on your mortality. Dedicate a few minutes each day to reflect on the fact that your time is limited. This doesn't have to be a negative experience, but an opportunity to more deeply appreciate your life. Use the reflection on death as a reminder to live in the present moment. Enjoy the small things. Say what you need to say to the people you love, and do things that you're passionate about. Make plans, but live in the now. Plan your future, but don't obsess over it. Live each day as if it were your last, doing things that make you feel alive and connected with your values. By incorporating memento mori into your life, you'll find a new appreciation for each day and each moment. It will help you live more fully and meaningfully, focusing on what really matters. Developing emotional fortitude is crucial for living a balanced and happy life. Stoics believe that having control over our emotions is essential for well-being. Seneca said, "Difficulty strengthens the mind as work does the body." This quote shows us that facing and overcoming difficulties is a way to build our emotional fortitude. Why is it important to develop emotional fortitude? Because our emotions can be like waves in the ocean, sometimes calm and other times stormy. The important thing is to learn to surf those waves instead of being dragged by them. Facing and overcoming difficulties not only makes us stronger, but also prepares us for future adversities. Why does this habit work? Because emotional fortitude allows us to maintain calm and clarity even in difficult situations. It helps us respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. This doesn't mean suppressing our emotions, but learning to understand and manage them constructively. You can start developing emotional fortitude by recognizing your emotions. The first step to managing your emotions is recognizing them. When you feel a strong emotion arising, take a moment to identify it. Is it anger, fear, sadness? Giving a name to your emotion can help you understand it better. Practice deep breathing, which is a powerful tool for calming your mind and body. When you feel a strong emotion dominating you, pause and take some deep breaths. This can help you center yourself and reduce the intensity of your emotions. Reflect before acting. Before reacting to a situation, take a moment to reflect. Ask yourself, how do I want to respond to this? What outcome am I seeking? This pause can give you the perspective needed to respond more effectively. Look for learning in difficulties. Instead of seeing difficulties as obstacles, view them as opportunities to grow and learn. Each challenge you face can strengthen your resilience and your ability to handle future adversities. Developing emotional fortitude is a continuous process. The more you practice these strategies, the easier it will be to maintain calm and clarity in difficult situations. Gratitude is a powerful practice that can change our perspective and increase our happiness. Epictetus said, "There is nothing more to thank life for than what it gives us." This quote highlights the importance of being grateful for what we have instead of focusing on what we lack. Why is it important to cultivate gratitude? Because when we're grateful, we shift our attention from the negative to the positive. This not only makes us feel better, but can also improve our mental and emotional health. Gratitude helps us appreciate the good things in our life and not take anything for granted. Think about a typical day. It's easy to focus on problems and difficulties, but if you take a moment to reflect, you'll surely find many things to be grateful for. A delicious meal, a pleasant conversation, an unexpected act of kindness. Why does this habit work? Because gratitude anchors us in the present and helps us recognize and value the good things in our life. This can increase our sense of well-being and satisfaction. Additionally, practicing gratitude regularly can strengthen our relationships and make us more resilient to difficulties. You can start cultivating gratitude by keeping a gratitude journal. Each day, write down at least 3 things you're grateful for. They can be small or large things. The important thing is to recognize and appreciate the positive in your life. Express your gratitude to others. Take time to thank the people around you. It can be a simple thank you or a written note. Expressing gratitude strengthens your relationships and creates a positive environment around you. Reflect on the good in your life. Dedicate a few minutes each day to reflect on the good things you have. It can be useful to do this at the end of the day as a way to close on a positive note. Cultivating gratitude is a practice that can transform your perspective and increase your happiness. I encourage you to start incorporating these practices into your daily life and observe the positive changes they can bring. In a world that often values accumulation and complexity, simplicity is a powerful way to find peace and clarity. Seneca advises us, "It's better to have little with tranquility than much with unrest." This quote reminds us that we don't need a life full of material things or complex activities to be happy. In fact, often less is more. Why is it important to maintain simplicity? Because simplicity frees us from distractions and allows us to focus on what really matters. It helps us reduce stress and find more time and energy for things that make us happy. Imagine having fewer things to maintain and fewer commitments to fulfill. This gives you more freedom and space to enjoy life. Additionally, when we simplify, we can appreciate more what we have. Why does this habit work? Because simplicity eliminates noise and distractions from our life. It allows us to focus on our priorities and live more intentionally. This not only reduces stress, but also increases our sense of well-being and satisfaction. You can start maintaining simplicity by getting rid of the unnecessary. Do a regular cleaning of your belongings and get rid of what you don't need. Keep only what brings you joy or utility. Simplify your schedule by reviewing your commitments and eliminating those that aren't essential. Learn to say no to things that don't align with your priorities. Focus on the essential by identifying the things that are really important to you and dedicating more time and energy to them. Leave aside things that don't contribute to your well-being. Maintaining simplicity is a habit that can bring much peace and clarity to your life. I encourage you to start simplifying and observe the benefits it brings. Self-discipline is fundamental in Stoicism because it helps us stay on the right path and act according to our values and objectives. Epictetus reminds us, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This quote underlines the importance of self-discipline for achieving true freedom. When we're masters of ourselves, we can make conscious decisions and live according to our principles. Why is it important to practice self-discipline? Because self-discipline allows us to resist temptations and distractions that can divert us from our objectives. It helps us stay focused and persevere even when things get difficult. Think of someone who wants to improve their health. Without self-discipline, it's easy to give in to the temptation of eating unhealthy foods or skipping exercise. But with self-discipline, that person can maintain their commitment to their health goals even when it's not easy. Why does this habit work? Because self-discipline gives us control over our actions and decisions. It allows us to act consistently with our values and objectives, which leads to greater satisfaction and long-term success. You can start practicing self-discipline by establishing clear goals. Define what you want to achieve and set clear and achievable goals. This will give you a sense of direction and purpose. Create routines and habits that help you stay on the right path. For example, if you want to improve your health, establish a regular exercise routine and plan your meals in advance. Monitor your progress by keeping a record of your progress and celebrating your achievements. This will help you stay motivated and adjust your strategies as necessary. Practicing self-discipline is a habit that can transform your life and help you achieve your goals. I encourage you to start incorporating these strategies into your daily routine and observe the positive changes they can bring. Resilience is the ability to recover from difficulties and move forward with strength and determination. Marcus Aurelius said, "The rock is struck and remains. The hammer is worn down by it." This quote shows us that, like the rock, we must be resilient and remain firm in the face of adversities. Why is it important to embrace resilience? Because life is full of challenges and difficulties. Without resilience, it's easy to feel overwhelmed and defeated by these obstacles. But when we're resilient, we can face difficulties with courage and move forward. Think of a tree during a storm. The branches may be shaken and some may even break, but the tree remains standing. In the same way, when we're resilient, we can withstand life's storms and continue growing. Why does this habit work? Because resilience gives us the strength and determination to overcome challenges. It helps us see difficulties as opportunities to learn and grow. Additionally, resilience allows us to maintain a positive and hopeful attitude even in difficult times. You can start embracing resilience by developing a positive mindset. Maintain a positive attitude and look for the good side in every situation. This will help you see challenges as opportunities instead of obstacles. Strengthen your relationships by surrounding yourself with people who support and encourage you. Strong relationships can provide the emotional support you need to overcome difficulties. Take care of yourself by ensuring you care for your physical and emotional health. Eat well, exercise, and take time to rest and recharge. Embracing resilience is a habit that can help you face challenges with strength and determination. I encourage you to start practicing these strategies and observe how they affect your ability to overcome difficulties. Stoics believe that every action should be intentional and aligned with our values and objectives. Seneca tells us, "Life is like a play. It doesn't matter how long it lasts, but how well it's acted." This quote reminds us that it's not the amount of time we have that matters, but how we use that time. Why is it important to act with purpose? Because when our actions are aligned with our values and objectives, we live more authentically and satisfactorily. It allows us to make the most of our time and energy and gives us a sense of direction and purpose. Imagine you're navigating a ship. If you don't have a clear course, you might end up drifting, wasting time and energy. But if you have a destination in mind and every action is aligned with getting there, your journey will be more efficient and satisfactory. Why does this habit work? Because acting with purpose gives us clarity and focus. It allows us to prioritize our actions and make decisions that bring us closer to our objectives. Additionally, living according to our values gives us a sense of integrity and satisfaction. You can start acting with purpose by defining your values and objectives. Take time to reflect on what's important to you and establish clear objectives. This will give you a sense of direction and purpose. Align your actions with your values by ensuring that your daily actions are aligned with your values and objectives. Ask yourself, does this bring me closer to where I want to be? Review and adjust regularly by taking time to review your progress and adjust your actions as necessary. This will help you stay on the right path and make adjustments when necessary. Acting with purpose is a habit that can transform your life and help you achieve your objectives more effectively. I encourage you to start incorporating these strategies into your daily routine and observe the positive changes they can bring. These 10 Stoic habits aren't meant to be practiced in isolation, but rather integrated into a comprehensive approach to living. The beauty of Stoicism lies in how these principles work together to create a robust framework for handling life's inevitable challenges and uncertainties. The journey of implementing these habits requires patience and consistent effort. Start with one or two that resonate most strongly with you, and gradually incorporate others as they become natural parts of your routine. Remember that the goal isn't perfection, but progress. Each small step toward embodying these principles represents meaningful growth in your personal development. As you begin to practice these habits, you'll likely notice that they reinforce one another. The discipline of controlling what you can control naturally supports mindful presence. Gratitude enhances your ability to embrace simplicity. Reflecting on mortality deepens your commitment to acting with purpose. This interconnected nature of Stoic practices creates a powerful synergy that can indeed address the vast majority of life's challenges. The ancient Stoics understood that philosophy wasn't merely an intellectual exercise, but a practical guide for living well. These habits represent their collective wisdom, refined over centuries and proven effective across cultures and generations. By embracing these principles, you're not just adopting ancient techniques, but participating in a timeless human quest for wisdom, resilience, and authentic fulfillment. Take the first step today. Choose one habit that speaks to you most clearly and begin the practice. Your future self will thank you for the wisdom, peace, and strength that these Stoic principles can bring to your life. Let me guess. Lately it feels like stress is winning the battle, doesn't it? You're trying to control everything, every detail, every outcome, but the harder you push, the more it seems like everything falls apart. Am I right? Now let me ask you something. What if, instead of holding on tighter, you learned to let go? Because, my friend, that's where the real power lies. What I'm about to share with you could change everything. How to manifest what you truly desire without burning yourself out in the process. Yes, it's possible. And no, I'm not talking about magic tricks or sitting around waiting for things to happen. Today, you're going to discover powerful principles inspired by Stoic philosophy that will teach you how to let go of stress, take back control of your life, and most importantly, attract what you've always dreamed of. I promise you it's not what you're expecting, but that's exactly why it works. Before we go any further, I want you to step into someone else's shoes for a moment. Let me tell you a story that might sound familiar. Javier was a top executive, one of those people who seemed to have everything under control, a packed schedule, big decisions to make every day, and constant pressure to never fail. But at what cost? One day, in the middle of an important presentation to his team, something happened that he never saw coming. His body said enough. Out of nowhere, he couldn't move or speak. A panic attack left him completely frozen. Javier, the man who always had an answer for everything, felt vulnerable for the first time in years. In that moment, something inside him screamed, "What am I doing with my life?" On a friend's advice, he did something he'd never imagined. He disconnected. He went to a cabin in the mountains. No emails, no phone calls, just him and silence. At first, his mind wouldn't stop racing. What's happening at the office? What will people say? But slowly, something began to shift. As he walked the trails and listened to the wind through the trees, he remembered a phrase from Marcus Aurelius. Accept everything that happens, even if it's different from what you expected. And then, as if a fog had lifted, he understood. Javier realized he didn't have to control everything for things to work out. When he returned to the city, he stopped cramming every gap in his schedule with meetings. So what did he do with his free time? He made space for things that mattered, time to reflect, to take care of himself, and to enjoy his family. And here's the most surprising part. When he let go of the need to control everything, things didn't fall apart. In fact, they got better. The atmosphere at work improved, results skyrocketed, and for the first time in a long while, he felt at peace with himself. Now let me ask you, how many times have you felt like Javier, carrying a weight that seems impossible to let go of? Maybe today is the day to say enough and discover what happens when you let calm work its magic. Are you ready to give it a try? Imagine you're at the beach. You grab a handful of sand and squeeze it tightly. At first, it feels like you're in control, but the harder you squeeze, the faster it slips through your fingers. Sound familiar? It reminds you of life, doesn't it? When you try to control everything, trust me, the more you fight to dominate every detail, the faster it all seems to fall apart. And there you are, stuck in a cycle that leaves you exhausted, frustrated, and further away from what you really want. Let's be real. Clinging to constant control isn't getting you anywhere. It's like trying to drive a car with the handbrake on. What happens? You don't move an inch. All you do is burn out and stay stuck. But what happens when you release that brake? That's right. You move forward with less effort and more ease. And that's exactly what you need to do in life. Let go. Now don't get me wrong. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means trusting the process. And when you do, when you stop holding on so tightly, something amazing happens. Things start to fall into place on their own. Picture this. You're on a family trip. You've planned every detail to perfection. The exact departure time, where to eat, even games to keep the kids entertained. But of course, nothing goes as planned. There's terrible traffic, it starts pouring rain, and your kids decide it's the perfect moment to throw a tantrum. What do you do? Do you lose it because the universe isn't following your plan? Or do you accept that some things are beyond your control? Because, my friend, that's life. You can't control traffic, the rain, or tantrums, but you can choose how you react. And this is where Stoicism works its magic. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, left us a timeless lesson. Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. It's like he's telling you, stop wasting energy flooring the gas pedal while the handbrake is still on. Release it and you'll move forward with less resistance. Because at the end of the day, what matters more? That everything goes perfectly, or that you actually enjoy the journey. I get it. This idea of letting go sounds easier said than done, but don't worry, I'm here to help. Let me share 3 simple steps you can start practicing today. Not only will they help you let go, but they'll also prepare you to relax and attract the things you truly desire. First, write your worries down on a piece of paper. Don't overthink it. Just write something like, "Look, I'm trying to control this, but I realize I can't." Then crumple that paper up and throw it away. Literally. Why? Because it's like telling your mind, this doesn't weigh on me anymore. Second, use the red light pause. Whenever something doesn't go as planned, take a few seconds to breathe. Inhale to a count of 4, hold it, and exhale to a count of 6. This is your daily reminder that sometimes taking a pause is the only way to move forward. Third, make space in your schedule for nothing. Yes, nothing, even if it's just 15 minutes. What can you do? Listen to music, gaze at the sky, or simply enjoy the silence. It's in those moments that your clearest ideas and deepest desires have room to surface. When you stop trying to control every moment, you begin to think clearly and manifest everything you desire. And here's the surprising part. When you learn to let go, life doesn't fall apart like you feared. On the contrary, it starts to take shape. This isn't magic, it's clarity. When you stop wasting energy on things you can't change, you free up mental and emotional space for what truly matters. Have you ever wondered why some days flow effortlessly, as if everything is working in your favor, while others feel like an impossible uphill climb? It's not magic or luck. Do you know what it comes down to? How you spend the first few hours of your morning. This is when you set the tone for your day, like tuning an instrument before a concert. Imagine stepping onto the stage without adjusting the strings. It would be a disaster. But if you take a moment to tune them, everything flows in harmony, right? Every note resonates. Every chord fits perfectly. That's the key. What you do when you wake up not only shapes how you feel, but also how everything else will resonate throughout your day. Doesn't that sound like something worth trying? Let me share a personal experience to show you what I mean. One morning, instead of jumping out of bed and straight onto my phone like I usually did, I decided to switch things up. I sat quietly for a few minutes, took a deep breath, and thought about how I wanted my day to go. Then, instead of letting notifications dictate my mood, I put on my favorite song, one of those tracks that gets you moving no matter what. As I made coffee, I ended up dancing in the kitchen. I won't lie, it felt a little silly at first. But do you know what happened next? That day went better than I could have hoped. Even the little frustrations that usually irritate me felt insignificant. It was as if that initial burst of energy set the tone for everything. Do you know who also understood the power of mornings? Seneca. He said that every new day is a gift, A blank check we should make the most of. He started his mornings reflecting, writing, and aligning his mind with what truly mattered. For him, it wasn't about reacting to the world, but preparing to face it. And you can do the same. Take those early hours and turn them into a space to focus your energy. So, how can you start your mornings differently? Let me give you a suggestion. Before you even touch your phone, sit down for a moment and take a few deep breaths. Inhale to a count of 4, hold for a couple of seconds, and then exhale slowly to a count of 6. Do this 3 times. You'll be amazed at the difference it makes. It's like giving your body a moment to start with calm and intention. Next, find something that makes your morning special. For me, it's music. Why not give it a try? Put on a song that inspires you, one that makes you want to move. And yes, even if it sounds a little crazy, dance for a few minutes. It doesn't matter if you're alone in the kitchen or getting ready in front of the mirror. You might even laugh at yourself, and that's the point. No one has to see you. But trust me, that burst of energy can transform your entire mood. Here's another idea. Before leaving the house, take a moment to think about one thing you want to achieve that day. It doesn't have to be anything big. Maybe it's as simple as enjoying your lunch without rushing or getting through the supermarket line quickly. These small intentions not only bring clarity, but also become the first steps toward attracting what you truly desire. So tell me, how do you want your mornings to be from now on? Do you want to start in chaos, letting the day drag you along? Or do you want to take control, create your moment, and set the tone for a day that flows in the direction you want? My friend, you don't need a perfect routine or to wake up at the crack of dawn. You just need to start strong, with calm and intention. Remember, every morning is a new opportunity, and how you choose to live it can be the beginning of everything you've ever wanted. Think of your mind as a puzzle. When all the pieces are scattered and out of place, it's impossible to see the full picture. Everything feels chaotic. But what happens when you take a moment to sort them? You group them by colors, by shapes, and suddenly something magical happens. The picture starts to come together. My friend, that's exactly how your mind works. If it's cluttered with disorganized thoughts, worries, and stress, what can you see clearly? Nothing. But when you give it calm and space, what a relief. That's when everything starts to fall into place. A few years ago, a pilot named Chesley Sullenberger, better known as Sully, faced one of those moments most people would call a nightmare. Picture this. You're in command of a commercial airplane with over 150 people on board. Everything's going smoothly until the unthinkable happens. Both engines fail after striking a flock of birds. The plane loses power, and all you see ahead is a crowded city and an icy river. What would most of us have done? Panic, without a doubt. But Sully did something different. He closed his eyes for a split second and took a deep breath. In his mind, there was no room for chaos. He visualized what he needed to do: land the plane on the Hudson River without causing a disaster. Was he certain it would work? Not at all. But he trusted his experience, his team, and most importantly, his ability to stay calm. He manifested it. And do you want to know what happened? While alarms blared and passengers held their breath, Sully spoke in a firm, clear voice. Brace for impact. It wasn't just a technical message, it was a declaration of confidence. He was manifesting what everyone needed at that moment: hope that things would turn out okay. Thanks to his calm, focused mind, he achieved something extraordinary. He landed the plane on the river and saved everyone on board. Epictetus was right when he said, What disturbs us is not what happens, but our thoughts about it. Sully couldn't control the engines or undo what happened with the birds, but he controlled his mind. He turned a chaotic situation into an opportunity to act with clarity and save lives. And that's what we can learn from his story. When you choose to calm your mind, you stop seeing problems and start seeing solutions. So how can you train your mind to be your best ally? You need to learn to organize the pieces of your mental puzzle. Spend 5 minutes a day thinking about all the worries cluttering your mind, like scattered puzzle pieces. But here's the trick. Don't try to solve everything at once. How can you do this without overwhelming yourself? Imagine you're stressed about 3 things at the same time: a tight work deadline, a recent argument with a friend that's still bothering you, and concerns about making ends meet this month. Now, think of these worries as puzzle pieces. Take those 5 minutes to sort them. For example, put the work project in one corner, something you can start working on right away, marked in yellow. The argument with your friend? That goes in another corner, maybe orange. You know it's something you can resolve later with a call or a message. And your finances. Put that in red and set it aside in a pouch of future pieces to deal with when you sit down to review your budget. Suddenly, by separating the pieces and giving them a place, you begin to see things clearly. Not everything is jumbled together, and not everything is fighting for your attention all at once. You might not solve the whole puzzle right then, but something better happens. You no longer feel that overwhelming chaos. Just by doing this, your mind starts to feel lighter, like you're making progress on something that once seemed impossible to handle. Worth trying, isn't it? Remember, when your mind is calm, not only do you feel better, but you also open yourself up to possibilities that once seemed unreachable. Because a clear mind has the power to manifest what you truly desire. Maybe it's time to stop trying to control everything and start trusting more in the strength you already have within you. Have you noticed that rushing is like a hot pan with no oil? It just burns everything faster. And the worst part is nothing turns out the way you wanted. Let me tell you the truth. Calmness isn't slowness. It's strategy. It's doing things at the pace they need to flow smoothly and come out right. Picture this. You're cooking for a special dinner. You've invited friends and everything is planned. But you get home late and start chopping ingredients in a rush. The vegetables are uneven, sauce spills everywhere, and on top of that, the pasta overcooks because you're distracted by the oven. When you serve the dish, it's nothing like what you envisioned. Sound familiar? Now think of the opposite. You give yourself time. You chop the ingredients carefully, enjoying the process. You taste the sauce as it cooks, adjusting the flavors. The pasta turns out perfectly al dente, and the result? Not only is it a delicious dish, but you also enjoyed the experience. Do you think that's just a coincidence? It's not. Rushing doesn't just ruin recipes, it ruins opportunities. And often we rush because we see others getting everything done, as if life were a race. But listen to me, my friend. Everyone has their own rhythm. Comparing yours to someone else's is like trying to make a plant grow faster just by staring at it. Marcus Aurelius understood this well. He said, "The mind is like water. When it's calm, it reflects the world clearly." As an emperor, he had enormous responsibilities on his shoulders, but he didn't tackle everything at once. He reflected, prioritized, and acted with calm. Even in the middle of crises, he kept his mind steady to make wise decisions. It wasn't about doing things faster, but doing them better. I know slowing down isn't easy when everything seems to be moving at lightning speed. But what if I told you that those small moments of calm are what open the door for things to start falling into place? Before starting any task, stop for 2 minutes. Just 2. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, what's the most important thing I can do right now? Mentally organize your steps as if you're tidying up your mind's desk. This simple ritual won't just give you clarity, it'll help you act from a more relaxed state. And when you're relaxed, things flow better. It's like everything starts aligning with you. And stop wasting time on multitasking. I know it seems like juggling several things at once is the key to success, but here's the truth no one tells you. You won't do any of those tasks well. So what should you do? Pick one task, just one, and give it your full attention. It's like planting a seed. If you give it the care and time it needs, it will grow strong. And once you finish that task, move on to the next. You won't just get more done, you'll do it better. With calmness, you create the space for what you truly desire to manifest more clearly. As the writer and philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "Adopt the pace of nature. Her secret is patience." And he couldn't be more right. Calmness doesn't just improve results, it lets you enjoy the process. Imagine how your life would change if, instead of racing against the clock, you chose to move forward calmly, savoring each step. No matter how much you have to do, if you take the time to do it well, everything starts to flow. And the best part? You'll feel more in control, more at peace, because when you do things calmly, you create space for what you truly desire to start taking shape. Picture this. Someone hands you a box and tells you that inside is everything you're missing in life, everything that would change your world if you had it. Excited, you open it expecting to find something extraordinary, but all you see is a mirror. At first you're confused. What does this mean? And then it hits you. You don't need more. You just need to see what you already have through new eyes. So often we're so focused on what's next, what we're chasing, that we forget to appreciate where we are now. But here's the secret. When you start being grateful for what you already have, something shifts. Life feels lighter, stress fades, and almost like magic, you begin to attract more good things. And speaking of seeing what we already have differently, let me tell you a story that perfectly illustrates this. It's about a farmer who, like many of us, couldn't stop thinking about all he was missing until he learned an unexpected lesson. Every day he complained about how small and uncomfortable his house was. "There's no space. I can't rest. Why does this have to be my life?" He was convinced his life would be better if only he had a bigger, nicer house. One day, desperate, he went to the village wise man for advice. The wise man listened and then said, "Do this. Bring your chickens inside the house." The farmer was surprised, but obeyed. The next day, he returned complaining, "This is worse. I can't move with all these chickens." The wise man smiled and said, "Now bring the pig inside." Again the farmer did as he was told, but by the third day he came back furious. "This is a disaster. I can't take it anymore." The wise man then told him, "Now, take the chickens and the pig out." When the farmer returned home, he realized something incredible. Suddenly, his small house felt spacious and peaceful. The size of the house hadn't changed, but his perspective had. For the first time he appreciated what he had. Do you see? Gratitude doesn't change your circumstances. Everything might stay the same. But do you know what it does change? the way you see them. And when you shift your perspective, you start noticing opportunities that were hidden before. The magic of gratitude isn't just that it transforms your mood. It's like it activates a spell in your life. According to psychologist Robert Emmons, being grateful for what you have works like a magic wand, helping you see opportunities where before you only saw problems. This magic aligns you with what truly matters to you. And the best part? You don't need any special tricks to do it. Gratitude is the wand you've always had in your hands. Of course, this idea isn't new. Seneca once said, "Nothing is more honorable than a grateful heart." For the Stoics, gratitude was a daily practice. They gave thanks for the small things, like the bread they ate, the sunrise, or a meaningful conversation. Because when you train yourself to see the good, you stop wasting energy on what's missing. And by doing so, you open the door to manifesting even more good things in your life. So how can you practice gratitude? Don't worry. This isn't the usual write down 3 things every day advice. Let's try something different. Set aside a moment once a week to reflect. Find a quiet spot, grab a piece of paper, and write down 3 things you're truly grateful for. But here's the trick. Don't stop at writing them down. Ask yourself, how have these things contributed to what I want to achieve? For example, maybe a friend's support has kept you strong, or a recent challenge has shown you what really matters. Reflecting on this doesn't just help you relax, it starts aligning your mind with your goals. The more you focus on the good you already have, the easier it becomes to attract what you want. It's as if every small thing you're grateful for builds the path toward your goals step by step, without you even realizing it. My friend, let me ask you, what are you grateful for today? This simple act of recognition could be your first step toward manifesting what you desire. Because when you're grateful, you're telling the universe, I'm ready to receive more. In a world that often values accumulation and complexity, simplicity is a powerful way to find peace and clarity. Seneca advises us, it's better to have little with tranquility than much with unrest. This quote reminds us that we don't need a life full of material things or complex activities to be happy. In fact, often less is more. Why is it important to maintain simplicity? Because simplicity frees us from distractions and allows us to focus on what really matters. It helps us reduce stress and find more time and energy for things that make us happy. Imagine having fewer things to maintain and fewer commitments to fulfill. This gives you more freedom and space to enjoy life. Additionally, when we simplify, we can appreciate more what we have. Think about the last time you tried to find something important in a cluttered room. You probably spent more time searching than actually using what you were looking for. Now imagine that same room, but organized and simplified. Everything has its place, and you can find what you need instantly. That's what simplicity does for your life. It removes the clutter so you can focus on what truly matters. But simplicity isn't just about physical possessions, it's about mental clarity too. When your schedule is packed with activities that don't align with your values, when your mind is constantly switching between different priorities, when you're saying yes to everything and everyone, that's complexity at its worst. It's exhausting, overwhelming, and it pulls you away from your authentic self. Consider the Japanese concept of MR, the power of empty space. In Japanese aesthetics, the space between objects is just as important as the objects themselves. This emptiness isn't vacant or wasted. It's purposeful and necessary. It allows each element to breathe, to be appreciated, to have meaning. Your life needs Ma too. Those empty spaces that allow you to breathe, reflect, and simply be. Why does this habit work? Because simplicity eliminates noise and distractions from our life. It allows us to focus on our priorities and live more intentionally. This not only reduces stress, but also increases our sense of well-being and satisfaction. When you remove what doesn't serve you, what remains becomes more precious, more meaningful. You can start maintaining simplicity by getting rid of the unnecessary. Do a regular cleaning of your belongings and get rid of what you don't need. Keep only what brings you joy or utility. But don't stop there. Apply this principle to your digital life too. Unsubscribe from emails that no longer interest you. Unfollow social media accounts that make you feel bad about yourself. Delete apps that waste your time without adding value. Simplify your schedule by reviewing your commitments and eliminating those that aren't essential. Learn to say no to things that don't align with your priorities. Remember, every yes to something unimportant is a no to something that matters. This isn't about being antisocial or selfish. It's about being intentional with your energy and time. Focus on the essential by identifying the things that are really important to you and dedicating more time and energy to them. Leave aside things that don't contribute to your well-being. Ask yourself regularly, does this add value to my life? Does this bring me closer to who I want to be? Maintaining simplicity is a habit that can bring much peace and clarity to your life. It's not about living with less for the sake of it. It's about making room for more of what matters. When you embrace simplicity, you're not depriving yourself. You're creating space for abundance in the areas that truly count. Self-discipline is fundamental in Stoicism because it helps us stay on the right path and act according to our values and objectives. Epictetus reminds us, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This quote underlines the importance of self-discipline for achieving true freedom. When we're masters of ourselves, we can make conscious decisions and live according to our principles. But let's be honest, self-discipline often gets a bad reputation. People think it means living a life of rigid rules and joyless restrictions. That's not what we're talking about here. True self-discipline isn't about punishing yourself or living like a monk. It's about having the freedom to choose your responses rather than being a slave to your impulses. Think about it this way. Imagine you're driving a powerful car. Without the steering wheel, brakes, and your ability to control the vehicle, that power becomes dangerous and useless. Self-discipline is like having control of that car. It doesn't limit the car's power. It directs it purposefully toward your destination. Why is it important to practice self-discipline? Because self-discipline allows us to resist temptations and distractions that can divert us from our objectives. It helps us stay focused and persevere even when things get difficult. But more than that, it gives us the confidence that comes from knowing we can rely on ourselves. Think of someone who wants to improve their health. Without self-discipline, it's easy to give in to the temptation of eating unhealthy foods or skipping exercise. The pleasure is immediate, but the consequences accumulate over time. But with self-discipline, that person can maintain their commitment to their health goals even when it's not easy. They understand that the temporary discomfort of discipline weighs far less than the permanent weight of regret. The beauty of self-discipline is that it compounds. Every time you choose the harder right over the easier wrong, you build what researchers call willpower muscle. You prove to yourself that you can be trusted, that your word to yourself means something. This builds confidence that spills over into every area of your life. Why does this habit work? Because self-discipline gives us control over our actions and decisions. It allows us to act consistently with our values and objectives, which leads to greater satisfaction and long-term success. When you have self-discipline, you're no longer at the mercy of your moods, circumstances, or other people's opinions. You become the author of your own story. You can start practicing self-discipline by establishing clear goals. Define what you want to achieve and set clear and achievable goals. This will give you a sense of direction and purpose. But make sure these goals are yours, not what others expect of you. When your goals align with your values, discipline feels less like restriction and more like freedom. Create routines and habits that help you stay on the right path. For example, if you want to improve your health, establish a regular exercise routine and plan your meals in advance. The key is to make the right choices automatic. When you have to rely on willpower alone, you'll eventually fail. But when you create systems and routines, you set yourself up for success. Start small and build momentum. Don't try to transform your entire life overnight. Pick one area where you want to improve your discipline and focus on that. Maybe it's waking up 15 minutes earlier, or reading for 10 minutes before bed, or taking a short walk after lunch. These small victories build confidence and create momentum for bigger changes. Monitor your progress by keeping a record of your progress and celebrating your achievements. This will help you stay motivated and adjust your strategies as necessary. But be compassionate with yourself when you fall short. Self-discipline isn't about perfection. It's about getting back on track quickly when you veer off course. Practicing self-discipline is a habit that can transform your life and help you achieve your goals. It's the bridge between who you are now and who you want to become. When you develop genuine self-discipline, you gain something invaluable, the ability to trust yourself completely. Resilience is the ability to recover from difficulties and move forward with strength and determination. Marcus Aurelius said, "The rock is struck and remains, the hammer is worn down by it." This quote shows us that, like the rock, we must be resilient and remain firm in the face of adversities. But resilience isn't just about enduring hardship, it's about growing through it. It's the difference between being a victim of your circumstances and being the hero of your own story. Resilient people don't avoid problems, they develop the skills to handle them with grace and even find opportunities within them. Why is it important to embrace resilience? Because life is full of challenges and difficulties. Without resilience, it's easy to feel overwhelmed and defeated by these obstacles. But when we're resilient, we can face difficulties with courage and move forward. More than that, we can transform our struggles into strengths. Think of a tree during a storm. The branches may be shaken and some may even break, but the tree remains standing. In the same way, when we're resilient, we can withstand life's storms and continue growing. But here's what's interesting. After a storm, trees often grow stronger. Their root systems deepen, their trunks thicken, and they become better prepared for future storms. This is exactly what happens to resilient people. Each challenge they overcome makes them stronger, wiser, and more capable. They develop what psychologists call post-traumatic growth, the positive psychological change that can result from struggling with adversity. It's not that they're grateful for the trauma itself, but they recognize how it has contributed to their strength and wisdom. Resilience isn't something you either have or don't have. It's a skill you can develop. And like any skill, it gets stronger with practice. Every time you face a setback and choose to get back up, every time you encounter failure and choose to learn from it, Every time you experience disappointment and choose to try again, you're building your resilience muscle. Why does this habit work? Because resilience gives us the strength and determination to overcome challenges. It helps us see difficulties as opportunities to learn and grow. Additionally, resilience allows us to maintain a positive and hopeful attitude even in difficult times. When you're resilient, you don't just survive life's challenges, you thrive because of them. You can start embracing resilience by developing a positive mindset. Maintain a positive attitude and look for the good side in every situation. This doesn't mean being unrealistically optimistic or denying real problems. It means training yourself to look for opportunities, lessons, and silver linings even in difficult circumstances. Strengthen your relationships by surrounding yourself with people who support and encourage you. Strong relationships can provide the emotional support you need to overcome difficulties, but also be willing to be that support for others. There's something powerful about helping others through their struggles. It reminds you of your own strength and creates meaningful connections. Take care of yourself by ensuring you care for your physical and emotional health. Eat well, exercise, and take time to rest and recharge. Resilience isn't just mental, it's physical too. When your body is strong and healthy, your mind is better equipped to handle stress and adversity. Learn from every setback. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" Or, "How can this make me stronger?" This shift in perspective transforms you from a victim into a student of life. Every challenge becomes a classroom. Every setback becomes a setup for a comeback. Embracing resilience is a habit that can help you face challenges with strength and determination. It's not about becoming invulnerable, it's about becoming anti-fragile, getting stronger when things get tough. When you develop true resilience, you realize that you're capable of handling whatever life throws at you. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture yourself in a movie theater. The lights dim, the projector hums to life, and something unexpected appears on the screen. It's you. You're the main character in the film, but this isn't just any movie. It's the story of your life exactly as you've always dreamed it. Everything is there. Your goals achieved, the people who inspire you, the moments that make your heart race. You can see every detail clearly, as if it's already happening. Now, my friend, here's the big question. What would this movie look like if you were the director? Believe me, visualization isn't just a nice exercise, it's a powerful tool. It's like writing the script for that movie before the cameras even start rolling. When you take the time to vividly imagine what you want, you're not just dreaming, you're training your mind to make it real. Because everything you build outwardly begins within. Think about it. If you don't have a clear idea of what you want, how can you expect to get there? As Seneca said, "No wind is favorable for the sailor who doesn't know where he's going." In other words, you need a direction, a clear vision to guide you. But here's the key. It's not enough to just imagine it. You have to feel it as if it's already happening. That's the magic of this exercise. It helps you relax, align with your desires, and start moving toward them with confidence. Did you know that your brain doesn't distinguish between what you vividly imagine and what actually happens? That's what psychologist and author Joe Dispenza explains. When you visualize something in detail, your mind interprets it as if it's real. It's like creating an invisible blueprint for what you want to build. And this changes everything. It changes how you move through the world, your energy, your decisions, and even the opportunities that come your way begin to align with that vision. It's like tuning an instrument. Suddenly, everything starts to sound the way it should. The power of visualization goes beyond just positive thinking. When you consistently imagine yourself achieving your goals, your subconscious mind begins to notice opportunities and resources that were always there but previously invisible to you. It's called the reticular activating system, the part of your brain that filters information and decides what's important enough for your conscious attention. Have you ever noticed how when you're thinking about buying a particular car, you suddenly start seeing that model everywhere? The cars were always there, but your brain wasn't programmed to notice them. Visualization works the same way. It programs your brain to notice opportunities, connections, and resources that align with your goals. I'm sure this idea has you intrigued and ready to try it out. So how can you make it part of your life? First, spend 5 minutes a day closing your eyes and visualizing your goal in detail. Don't just picture what you want, live it mentally. For example, if your goal is to write a book, imagine yourself at your desk, typing the final page, seeing your name on the cover, and holding the book in your hands. How does it feel? What emotions run through you? When you bring your dreams to life in your mind, your brain starts acting as if they're already happening. Make your visualization as detailed as possible. Engage all your senses. If you're visualizing your ideal career, don't just see yourself in that role. Hear the sounds of your work environment. Feel the textures of your workspace. Smell the coffee brewing in the break room. The more vivid and detailed your visualization, the more real it becomes to your subconscious mind. Next, write your goals as if you've already achieved them. This isn't just a list, it's a declaration. For example, instead of writing, "I want to have my own business," write, "I have a successful business where I do what I love." Fill it with details. What's your daily routine like? What impact are you making? How do you feel when you wake up each morning knowing you're living your purpose? And here's one more tip. Make this process relaxing. Don't treat it as just another task on your to-do list. See it as a moment to enjoy. Play some soft music, sit in a quiet place, and let yourself dream. Because, my friend, dreaming isn't wasting time. It's giving your mind the direction it needs to start building what you desire. Everything begins in your mind. When you imagine with clarity, you take the first step toward making it a reality. It's not just about dreaming. It's about using those dreams as a compass to guide your actions. So, what are you waiting for? Start visualizing, start believing, and start shaping the life you've always wanted. Imagine you have a small garden and you decide to plant carrots. You prepare the soil, plant the seeds, and water them every day. In the first week, you check the soil with excitement, hoping to see green sprouts. But nothing happens. Am I doing something wrong, you wonder, as you examine the dirt. You keep watering patiently, but another week passes. Still nothing. Frustration creeps in. Is there something wrong with the seeds? Maybe I'm not watering enough. What you can't see is what's happening underground. The roots are hard at work, growing, preparing to break through the surface. From above, it looks like nothing is happening, and that can drive anyone crazy. But don't give up. All that effort is bearing fruit, even if you can't see it yet. And when those first shoots appear, it'll all have been worth it. Because, my friend, carrots aren't in a hurry. But when they come, they're here to stay. Strong, steady, and just as you imagined. Do you see? The same thing happens when you're trying to manifest what you truly desire. Even if it seems like nothing is changing, everything is moving in the right direction. Your intentions, your efforts, even your energy are paving a path you just can't see yet. And when you least expect it, That's when the results will arrive. Let's be honest, no one likes to wait. But what if I told you that patience isn't just sitting around? It's believing that while you do your part, the universe is doing its part too. As Marcus Aurelius said, nature doesn't rush, yet everything is accomplished. Think about a river. It doesn't matter how many twists and rocks it encounters, it never stops. It always reaches its destination, the ocean. Trust is perhaps the most challenging aspect of manifestation because it requires you to act with faith even when you can't see immediate results. It's like being an artist who continues to paint even when no one is watching, or a musician who practices scales in an empty room. You must trust that your efforts are accumulating into something beautiful, even when the evidence isn't visible yet. Now imagine you're in a tough spot. You've decided your life needs a radical change, quitting your office job, selling everything you don't need, and setting out to travel the world. Sounds exciting, right? But here comes reality. The first few weeks are a disaster. Your savings disappear faster than you expected. The jobs you thought you'd find aren't there, and you start questioning if you've made a huge mistake. You find yourself trying to control everything, obsessing over finding an immediate solution. But then you remember, you need to trust in what's coming. You start applying what you've learned. You relax, write down your intentions, visualize clearly what you want, and let go of some of that control. And then something unexpected happens. In a casual conversation, someone mentions an opportunity, a work exchange program where you can stay at hosts while traveling. "This is exactly what I needed," you say, jumping with joy. But do you see? You wouldn't have found it if you hadn't let your guard down and trusted in what was coming. My friend, don't get it wrong. Trust doesn't mean crossing your arms and waiting. You have to work at it, but you also need to relax and manifest everything you desire with calm. And when doubts creep in, because let's be honest, they will, repeat this: I'm doing my part. The rest will come in its time. Write it down if you need to. Put it somewhere you'll see it every day. It's a reminder that you're not alone in this process. Trust also means being open to receiving what you've asked for in unexpected ways. Sometimes the universe delivers exactly what you need, but not in the package you expected. The job opportunity might come through a chance encounter rather than a formal application. The relationship you've been seeking might develop from a friendship you already have. The solution to your problem might come from a source you never considered. Never forget, trust in what's coming, because while you're planting the seed, life is already working to make it grow. And when you least expect it, you'll be surprised by the fruits you never imagined would come. Throughout this journey we've taken together, you've discovered powerful principles that can transform not just how you handle stress, but how you approach life itself. These aren't just techniques or tricks. They're pathways to becoming who you truly are beneath all the noise, pressure, and expectations that surround you daily. When you learn to let go of the need to control everything, you're not giving up power. You're accessing a different kind of power. The power that comes from flowing with life rather than fighting against it. The power that emerges when you trust in your own resilience and the natural unfolding of events. This is the power that the ancient Stoics understood, the power that comes from inner strength rather than external manipulation. Think about how different your life feels when you're not constantly pushing against the current. When you wake up each morning with intention rather than anxiety, when you face challenges as opportunities to grow rather than threats to avoid. When you appreciate what you have while working toward what you want. This isn't just a more pleasant way to live, it's a more effective way to manifest your deepest desires. The beautiful thing about these practices is that they work together synergistically. As you become more mindful and present, you naturally develop greater self-discipline. As you cultivate gratitude, you find it easier to embrace simplicity. As you build resilience, you discover deeper trust in life's process. Each element supports and strengthens the others, creating a robust foundation for a fulfilling life. But perhaps most importantly, you've learned that manifestation isn't about forcing outcomes or manipulating circumstances. It's about aligning yourself so completely with your authentic desires that you become a magnet for opportunities, relationships, and experiences that resonate with who you truly are. When you're living from this place of alignment, action becomes effortless and results feel natural rather than forced. Remember Javier's story from the beginning? His transformation wasn't about adding more to his life. It was about subtracting what didn't serve him. It was about creating space for what mattered. Your journey might look different, but the principle remains the same. Sometimes, the most powerful action you can take is to stop taking action and start being present to what's already here. As you continue forward, carry with you the understanding that every moment is an opportunity to practice these principles. Every challenging situation is a chance to apply the dichotomy of control. Every morning is an opportunity to set your intention. Every setback is a chance to build resilience. Every success is an invitation to practice gratitude. The path of the Stoic isn't about becoming emotionless or detached from life. It's about becoming so grounded in your own values and so clear about what truly matters that external circumstances lose their power to disturb your inner peace. It's about developing such trust in your ability to handle whatever comes that you can take meaningful risks and pursue ambitious dreams without being paralyzed by fear. This is your invitation to step into a different way of being. Not perfect, not without challenges, but authentic and aligned. A way of living where stress becomes manageable, where setbacks become stepping stones, and where your deepest desires have the space they need to manifest naturally. The ancient wisdom you've encountered isn't ancient because it's outdated. It's ancient because it's timeless. These truths about human nature, about how to live well, about how to find peace in a chaotic world, they've been tested across centuries and cultures. They work because they're based on fundamental principles of how consciousness and reality interact. You now have the tools. You understand the principles. You've seen how they can work in practical, everyday situations. The question isn't whether these approaches can transform your life. It's whether you'll commit to practicing them consistently enough to experience their full power. Start where you are, with what you have, doing what you can. Trust the process, embrace the journey, and remember that every master was once a beginner. Your transformation doesn't require perfection. It requires presence, practice, and patience with yourself as you grow. The life you've been dreaming of isn't waiting for you to become someone else. It's waiting for you to become more fully yourself. And that journey begins with a single choice. The choice to let go of what no longer serves you and trust in what wants to emerge. Your future self is already grateful for the step you're about to take. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." In a world that constantly tries to dictate how we should feel, think, and act, imagine possessing the power to find inner peace and happiness regardless of the circumstances swirling around you. That's not just powerful, It's revolutionary. It's about taking control not of the world, but of something far more important and absolutely within our reach, our own minds. Stoicism teaches us resilience, gratitude, and the art of living a fulfilled life. But this isn't just a history lesson. It's about you, your life, today. It's about facing the chaos of our modern world without losing your cool. It's about finding calm in the storm and happiness in the simplest of things. It's about transforming your mornings from something you dread into a powerful launchpad for a day filled with purpose and joy. So, if you've ever felt overwhelmed by the noise of life, if you've ever struggled to find a moment's peace, or if you're just curious about how ancient wisdom can be your secret weapon in the 21st century, what follows might just be the insight that changes everything for you. Let's dive into the Stoic strategies that can help us craft not just a morning routine, but a life filled with intention, resilience, and true happiness. There's a beautifully simple concept that comes from Japan that might sound like a fancy term, but it's actually one of the most profound approaches to living you'll ever encounter. It's about discovering that sweet spot where your passions, skills, societal needs, and what you can be paid for all intersect. It's your unique reason for being, that thing that makes the thought of hitting snooze just irrelevant because you're so excited to start your day. Imagine waking up each morning fueled by a clear purpose that excites you, something that makes jumping out of bed feel natural rather than forced. This isn't about finding some grand, world-changing mission, though it could be. It's about understanding what drives you at your core and aligning your daily actions with that deeper calling. Marcus Aurelius wasn't just about enduring life's hardships with a stiff upper lip. He was deeply invested in the idea that we're all here to play our part, to contribute something meaningful. He urged us to approach each day as an opportunity to fulfill our role with integrity and passion. This philosophy of purposeful living becomes even more powerful when we consider how it can transform our relationship with morning routines and daily habits. The quest for purpose begins with some honest introspection. You need to ask yourself some fundamental questions. What am I passionate about? What am I naturally good at? What does the world need from me? What can I potentially be compensated for? It's okay if the answers don't come to you right away. This is about the journey, not immediate destination. It's about exploring different facets of your life and interests and seeing where they converge. This isn't just some fluffy, feel-good exercise. It's about setting the foundation for a life that's rich in meaning and satisfaction. When you align your daily actions with your deeper purpose, even the mundane tasks gain significance. Your relationships start to flourish because you're more present and engaged. Your creativity soars because you're aligned with your true passions. And overall happiness? Well, it becomes more of a constant companion than a fleeting visitor. The ancient Stoics, particularly Marcus Aurelius, were big on the idea that our actions should be purposeful, not just random acts thrown into the wind, but deliberate steps guided by our inner compass. When you understand your deeper purpose, you begin to see how every choice you make, every habit you cultivate, and every morning routine you establish either moves you toward or away from that purpose. This alignment isn't about perfection or having every aspect of your life figured out immediately. It's about gradual progression, about making conscious choices that honor what you value most deeply. When you wake up tomorrow morning, consider what could be so compelling that you'd leap out of bed eager to start the day. Remember, this isn't about overnight transformation. It's a process, a gentle unfolding. And as Marcus Aurelius would remind us, it's about doing the work day by day with dedication and honor. Finding your purpose isn't just about personal fulfillment either. It's about embracing your role in the larger tapestry of life, contributing your unique thread to the ever-evolving human story. This perspective transforms how you approach not just your mornings, but every interaction, every challenge, and every opportunity that comes your way. The quality of your morning begins with how you spend your evening. This philosophy extends beautifully into how we prepare for the day ahead, starting the night before. It's tempting to binge-watch your favorite series until the wee hours or scroll through social media until your eyes blur. But let's pause and consider how that sets you up for the next day. Your brain needs time to unwind, to process the day's events, and to recharge for what's ahead. That's where a solid pre-sleep routine comes into play. Imagine treating your evening routine with the same respect and intention as you would any other important aspect of your life. This isn't about rigid self-discipline that sucks the joy out of your evenings. It's about creating a space that supports your well-being and aligns with your goals for the next day. The Stoics understood that preparation is a form of taking control of what's within our power. When we prepare thoughtfully for tomorrow, we're exercising the kind of proactive wisdom that Marcus Aurelius wrote about extensively in his personal reflections. We're acknowledging that while we can't control everything that happens to us, we can certainly influence how we position ourselves to respond to whatever comes. For instance, limiting screen time an hour before bed isn't about denying yourself relaxation. It's about giving your mind the cue that it's time to wind down, making it easier to fall asleep and wake up feeling refreshed. The blue light from screens interferes with your body's natural production of melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep. By reducing this interference, you're working with your body's natural rhythms rather than against them. Planning a bit for the next day can also be a game changer. It could be as simple as jotting down your top 3 priorities for tomorrow. This act alone sets a clear direction, ensuring you wake up with a sense of purpose, rather than that overwhelming feeling of not knowing where to start. When you write down your intentions the night before, you're essentially programming your subconscious mind to work on these priorities, even while you sleep. Here's where the Stoic mindset really shines. It's about acknowledging what's within our control and letting go of what's not. We might not be able to control every detail of our day, but we can certainly influence how we start it. This evening, preparation becomes an act of self-respect and personal responsibility, 2 core Stoic virtues. Consider incorporating some deep breathing or meditation to calm the mind. This practice isn't just wellness fluff. It's a powerful tool that signals to your body it's time to rest. Inhaling deeply and exhaling slowly helps reduce stress, lower your heart rate, and prepare your body for deep, restorative sleep. It's like pressing the reset button, ensuring you wake up not just physically refreshed, but mentally and emotionally prepared as well. You might also consider doing a brief gratitude reflection as part of your evening routine. Think about 3 things that went well during the day, no matter how small. This practice helps shift your mind from any stress or frustration you might be carrying into a more positive, peaceful state. It's a way of closing the day on a constructive note and priming your mind for positive thoughts when you wake up. The evening routine you create should feel nourishing rather than restrictive. It might include reading a few pages of a book that inspires you, gentle stretching, preparing your clothes for the next day, or simply sitting quietly and reflecting on your experiences. The key is consistency and intentionality, approaching these activities as valuable rituals rather than just things to get through before sleep. In today's always-on world, creating a morning space free from digital distractions might sound like a Herculean task, but it's absolutely vital for setting the tone of your entire day. Picture this: the first moments of your morning, untainted by the digital clamor of emails, social media notifications, or the buzzing news cycle. It's just you, your thoughts, and the serene quiet of the dawn. That's not just refreshing, it's empowering. Marcus Aurelius was a strong advocate for living with intention and focus. He wasn't distracted by the ancient equivalent of notifications, and believe me, he had his share of distractions as the Emperor of Rome. Instead, he emphasized the importance of concentrating on the present moment and the task at hand. He knew something that's even more relevant today. The quality of your attention determines the quality of your life. So how do we apply this ancient wisdom in the modern age? First, it's about creating a morning space that's intentionally free from digital distractions. This isn't about shunning technology altogether, but rather choosing not to let it dictate the start of your day. It's tempting to roll over and immediately check your phone, but that instantly puts you in a reactive state, responding to the demands and dramas of the external world. Instead, give yourself the gift of a peaceful start. Imagine dedicating the first hour of your day to activities that nourish your soul and sharpen your mind. Maybe it's reading something that inspires growth, meditating to center yourself, journaling to clarify your thoughts, or simply enjoying a cup of coffee as you gaze out the window and prepare mentally for the day ahead. This isn't wasted time, it's an investment in your well-being. By avoiding distractions, you're not just avoiding stress, you're actively creating a reservoir of peace and focus that you'll draw from throughout the day. Think of it like filling up your emotional and mental gas tank before you hit the road. When you start your day from a place of calm centeredness, you're much better equipped to handle whatever challenges or opportunities come your way. Making the most of your mornings isn't about adding more to your to-do list. It's about subtracting the noise that doesn't serve you. It's about prioritizing what truly matters before the day's demands start pulling at your attention. This is where the Stoic practice of focusing on what's within your control comes into play perfectly. You might not be able to control the flood of emails waiting for you, but you can control how and when you choose to engage with them. Consider keeping your phone in another room while you sleep, or at least keeping it on airplane mode until you've completed your morning routine. This simple barrier creates the space you need to start your day intentionally rather than reactively. If you're worried about emergencies, remember that true emergencies are rare, and most urgent communications can wait an hour or two. The morning hours often represent our peak mental energy and creativity. When we immediately surrender this prime time to other people's agendas, through emails, news, or social media, we're essentially giving away our best hours. Instead, protect this time fiercely. Use it for reflection, planning, creativity, or simply being present with yourself and your own thoughts. This practice of morning digital fasting also helps you maintain perspective on what's truly important. When you're constantly plugged in, it's easy to get caught up in the urgency of every notification, to feel like everything requires your immediate attention. But when you create space and distance, you realize that most of these demands aren't as urgent as they seem. You develop the ability to respond rather than react, to choose what deserves your energy rather than being pulled in every direction. So tomorrow, challenge yourself to start the day on your terms. Resist the urge to dive into the digital world first thing. Instead, anchor yourself in the present moment. savoring the peace and potential that the morning holds. Remember, every day is a new opportunity to live more intentionally, more serenely, and more in line with who you aspire to be. Let your mornings be a testament to that ambition, guided by the timeless wisdom of Stoicism and an unwavering focus on what truly matters. Stoicism at its core is about understanding what is within our control and acting with virtue and intention in those areas. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus. These philosophers weren't just talking about enduring life's hardships with a stiff upper lip. They were advocating for a proactive engagement with life, taking charge of our actions and our mindset. Waking up consistently is a practice that embodies this philosophy perfectly. It's a declaration that we are in control of how we start our day, that we are not at the mercy of whims or external pressures. Building a life, as Stoicism suggests, step by step, with contentment in each action, is a powerful concept. It reminds us that big changes start with small, consistent actions. Waking up at the same time each morning might seem like a small thing, but it's a cornerstone habit that sets the stage for everything else. It's about creating a stable foundation for your day, where you're not rushing from the moment you open your eyes, but rather starting with a sense of control and purpose. But here's the thing, consistency is challenging. It's supposed to be. The early days of trying to wake up at the same time each morning can feel like an uphill battle. Your bed feels more comfortable than ever, and the temptation to hit snooze just one more time can feel irresistible. This is where the Stoic practice of perseverance comes in. It's about reminding yourself why you're doing this, about the person you're becoming through this discipline. This journey toward consistent rising isn't just about the practical benefits, though those are significant. When you wake up at the same time every day, you're working with your body's natural circadian rhythms rather than against them. Your body begins to anticipate when it's time to wake up, making the process feel more natural over time. You'll find that you have more energy throughout the day and better quality sleep at night. More importantly, it's about seeing beyond the immediate comfort and focusing on the long-term benefits this habit will bring into your life. Becoming a morning person isn't just about the mornings themselves. It's about embodying the qualities that make you resilient, focused, and intentional throughout your day. It's a practice in self-mastery, in aligning your actions with your values, and in cultivating the kind of life you want to live one morning at a time. So how do we make consistency our ally? Start by setting a clear intention the night before. Remind yourself why waking up at a specific time is important to you. Is it to have more quiet time in the morning for reading or meditation? Is it to exercise or simply to start your day in a more relaxed and controlled manner? Having a compelling reason makes it easier to overcome the resistance you'll inevitably feel. Then create an environment that supports this habit. Maybe it's going to bed a bit earlier to ensure you get enough sleep, or keeping your curtains slightly open to let natural light wake you up gently. Some people find it helpful to put their alarm clock across the room, forcing them to get up to turn it off. Others prefer a sunrise alarm clock that gradually increases light to simulate natural dawn. When it gets tough, and it will, remember the Stoic belief in the power of our own will and the importance of acting according to our principles. Each morning that you wake up at your chosen time, you're not just starting your day, you're reinforcing a commitment to yourself, to your growth, and to living a life of intention and purpose. The consistency of waking up at the same time also creates what psychologists call a keystone habit, a habit that naturally triggers other positive behaviors. When you consistently wake up early, you're more likely to exercise, eat a healthy breakfast, plan your day thoughtfully, and go to bed at a reasonable time. It's like the first domino that sets off a chain reaction of positive choices throughout your day. Remember, the goal isn't perfection. There will be days when you sleep in, when life gets in the way, when your body needs extra rest. The Stoic approach is to acknowledge these moments without judgment, learn from them if necessary, and simply return to your practice the next day. It's about progress, not perfection, and about building the kind of resilient, intentional character that can handle whatever life brings your way. Amidst all this talk of discipline, consistency, and waking up with the sun, it's paramount to remember one thing: we're human. And being human means we're beautifully complex creatures with brains that often prefer the path of least resistance, the instant gratification route. This is precisely why embarking on new habits, like transforming our mornings, can initially feel like an uphill battle. Yet there's something incredibly freeing in acknowledging this fact. It's not a flaw, it's just part of the human experience. Let's channel some Stoicism into this concept. Stoicism teaches us the importance of self-compassion and understanding alongside its calls for discipline and resilience. Marcus Aurelius, in his personal writings, often reminded himself to be patient and forgiving with his own shortcomings. He knew that berating oneself for every slip-up was not the path to growth. Instead, he advocated for recognizing our errors, learning from them, and then letting them go. This approach is crucial when we're trying to cultivate new morning routines, or any habit for that matter. Those first few days, or even weeks, can be tough. Your alarm goes off, and every fiber of your being wants to stay cocooned in the warmth of your bed. And let's be honest, there will be days when you'll give in to that desire. That's okay. The key is what you do next. Do you beat yourself up, spiraling into a cycle of guilt and self-criticism? Or do you take a breath, forgive yourself, and see the next morning as a fresh opportunity to try again? Forgiveness and patience with ourselves are not signs of weakness. They're indicators of strength and wisdom. They mean we're in it for the long haul, ready to navigate the ups and downs with grace. This Stoic practice of self-compassion is about understanding our nature, working with it, and gently nudging ourselves towards the habits and life we aspire to. It's recognizing that change is a process, not an event. Every expert was once a beginner. Every person you admire who seems to have it all figured out has struggled with building new habits at some point in their journey. The neuroscience of habit formation tells us that it takes time for new behaviors to become automatic. Your brain is literally creating new neural pathways, and this process requires patience and repetition. When you understand this, it becomes easier to be compassionate with yourself during the challenging early stages of building a new routine. Moreover, taking it easy isn't about making excuses or allowing ourselves to perpetually fall short of our goals. It's about recognizing that growth is a process filled with learning curves and setbacks. It's about understanding that each new day brings with it a new set of challenges and opportunities, and it's in this daily renewal that we find our strength and resilience. Consider reframing setbacks as data rather than failures. When you hit the snooze button or skip your morning routine, instead of judging yourself harshly, ask, what can I learn from this? What was different about yesterday that made it harder to stick to my routine? How can I adjust my approach to make tomorrow more successful? Maybe you stayed up too late watching a compelling show. Maybe you're fighting off a cold and your body needs extra rest. Maybe work stress is affecting your sleep quality. All of these factors provide valuable information that can help you refine your approach rather than abandon it altogether. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that we suffer more from our opinions about events than from the events themselves. This wisdom applies perfectly to our relationship with our own progress. The fact that you didn't wake up early one morning is just a fact. The suffering comes from the story you tell yourself about what that means, that you're lazy, that you'll never change, that you're destined to fail. Instead, practice treating yourself with the same kindness you would show a good friend who was trying to make positive changes in their life. You wouldn't berate them for occasional slip-ups. You'd encourage them, remind them of their progress, and help them get back on track. Extend the same courtesy to yourself. As you work on embracing those early mornings or any new habit, remember to take it easy on yourself. Celebrate the small victories, the days when you do wake up on time, the moments when you choose your long-term goals over short-term comfort. Learn from the setbacks without letting them define you. Approach each day with a heart ready to try again. This isn't just about becoming a morning person, it's about cultivating a mindset that's prepared to face life's challenges with a blend of determination and kindness toward yourself. It's about understanding that the journey of self-improvement is not a straight line, but a winding path full of lessons, growth, and opportunities to practice both discipline and self-compassion. Consider the simple act of placing your alarm clock across the room. It's not just about making it physically harder to snooze. It's a statement. It's a commitment to start the day on your terms, to rise despite the comfort of the bed's embrace. It's a small act of defiance against the inertia of sleep and comfort, a step towards embracing the day with intention. Similarly, making your bed each morning might feel like a trivial task, especially when you're the only one who'll see it. Yet it's so much more than smoothing sheets and fluffing pillows. It's an exercise in care, in telling yourself that your environment and how you engage with it matters. It's about creating a space that reflects the order and respect you're cultivating within yourself. These small victories, as Marcus Aurelius would likely argue, are the building blocks of a disciplined life. They're the everyday choices that, while easy to overlook, cumulatively mold our character. Each time you choose to do these little things, you're casting a vote for the type of person you want to be. You're choosing to be someone who values discipline, order, and respect for oneself and one's environment. But why focus on these small acts? Because they're within everyone's reach. Not all of us can control the major events in our lives, the upheavals, the unexpected turns. But we can control how we respond to the start of each day, how we treat our immediate surroundings, and how we prime ourselves for whatever lies ahead. This is Stoicism in action, focusing on what's in our power to control and letting go of what isn't. The power of small disciplined actions lies in their cumulative effect. When you consistently make your bed, you're training yourself to follow through on commitments, even small ones. When you place your alarm across the room, you're practicing the art of making future decisions easier by setting up your environment thoughtfully. These might seem like minor things, but they're actually profound exercises in self-mastery. Think about the psychological impact of starting your day with a completed task. Making your bed gives you an immediate sense of accomplishment, a small victory that sets a positive tone for everything that follows. It's a reminder that you have the power to create order and beauty in your life, starting with the most basic elements of your environment. Moreover, these practices aren't just about building discipline for discipline's sake. They're about cultivating a mindset that's prepared for life's bigger challenges. If you can commit to these small acts of discipline, you're training yourself to uphold your commitments in more significant areas. You're sharpening your ability to follow through, to remain steady in the face of adversity, and to approach life with a calm, collected demeanor, qualities that define the Stoic ideal. Consider expanding this concept to other small morning actions. Perhaps it's drinking a full glass of water upon waking to rehydrate your body after hours without fluid. Maybe it's spending 2 minutes in gratitude, thinking about 3 things you appreciate in your life. It could be as simple as taking 3 deep breaths before you start your day, centering yourself in the present moment. Each of these actions might take only seconds or minutes, but their impact extends far beyond their duration. They're like deposits in a bank account of self-respect and self-efficacy. Every time you follow through on these small commitments to yourself, you're building evidence that you can be trusted to do what you say you'll do. The beauty of starting with small acts of discipline is that they create momentum. Success breeds success, and confidence builds upon itself. When you master these small morning rituals, you naturally begin to see opportunities for discipline and intentionality throughout your day. You might find yourself choosing to take the stairs instead of the elevator, or deciding to listen fully in a conversation instead of planning what you'll say next. So, as you consider the role of discipline in your life, start small. Look for those everyday opportunities to practice self-control and order. Remember, it's in these moments, in the quiet of the morning when you decide to rise and face the day with intention, that your character is forged. These practices are not just chores or tasks, they're rituals, imbuing your day with purpose and your life with a sense of direction and meaning. The idea of having someone share your journey toward better morning routines and life habits is simple yet profoundly impactful. Sharing your goals with someone who not only supports you but also holds you accountable can significantly amplify your chances of success. It transforms a personal journey into a shared adventure, making the path to fulfilling your morning routine and ultimately your life's purpose less daunting and more enjoyable. Think of your accountability partner as your ally in the pursuit of self-improvement. This person is there to remind you of your commitments when the warmth of your bed feels too comforting to leave in the early hours. They're there to encourage you when progress seems slow and to celebrate your victories, no matter how small. This relationship is a two-way street. It's about mutual support and encouragement, grounded in the understanding that we're all striving to be the best versions of ourselves. The Stoics, including Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, often emphasize the importance of community and relationships in the development of character and virtue. They believed in the power of wisdom shared, in learning from one another, and in the strength that comes from knowing you're not alone in your struggles. Finding an accountability partner in today's world is a nod to this timeless wisdom, recognizing that while the journey towards self-discipline and purpose is personal, it need not be solitary. Moreover, an accountability partner can help you see blind spots in your routine or approach that you might miss on your own. They can offer new perspectives and insights that can catalyze your growth in unexpected ways. This partnership is about more than just checking in to see if you woke up on time or followed through on your morning meditation. It's about engaging in meaningful dialogue about what's working, what isn't, and how you can both support each other in making adjustments. The psychological research on accountability is clear. When we make our commitments known to others, we're significantly more likely to follow through. This isn't just about external pressure. It's about the power of relationship and community in supporting positive change. When someone else knows about your goals, those goals become more real, more concrete, and more worthy of your consistent effort. So how do you find this accountability partner? Look for someone who shares your commitment to growth and self-improvement. This could be a friend, a family member, or even a colleague. The key is to choose someone you trust, someone with whom you can be open and honest about your goals, struggles, and successes. It's important that this person has their own growth goals as well, so the relationship feels balanced and mutually beneficial. Once you've found that person, be clear about what you're hoping to achieve and what kind of support you need. Set regular check-ins, perhaps a brief conversation every few days or a longer discussion once a week. Decide together how you want to handle setbacks and how you'll celebrate progress. Some accountability partnerships work well with daily text check-ins, while others prefer weekly phone calls or in-person meetings. The format matters less than the consistency and genuine care you bring to the relationship. Be there for each other, offering encouragement, advice, and when necessary, a gentle nudge back on track. Share your challenges honestly. If you're struggling to wake up early because you've been staying up too late, don't hide that. Your partner might have practical suggestions or might simply offer the understanding and support you need to get back on track. Remember that being an accountability partner is also an opportunity for you to practice important life skills like active listening, encouragement, and supportive challenge. When you help someone else stay committed to their goals, you're reinforcing your own commitment to growth and positive change. Finding an accountability partner is about more than just external motivation. It's about building a relationship that inspires and uplifts both of you. It's about creating a shared space where honesty, vulnerability, and mutual support are valued and nurtured. In this space, your morning routines and broader life goals become intertwined in a collective effort towards living a more intentional, disciplined, and fulfilling life. The Stoic practice of reflecting on mortality is a call to action, a prompt to live our lives with purpose and intention. It encourages us not to squander our time on trivialities, but to concentrate on creating a meaningful legacy. Every morning when we wake up, we're presented with a fresh opportunity to engage with life in a meaningful way, to contribute positively to the world around us, and to pursue personal growth and fulfillment. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often wrote about the fleeting nature of life, emphasizing the importance of living virtuously and making the most of the time we have. This wasn't meant to be somber. Rather, it was a liberating realization that freed him from petty concerns and allowed him to focus on his duties as emperor and as a human being striving for virtue. The idea is that by keeping the end in mind, we're more likely to live our lives with purpose and clarity, prioritizing the things and relationships that truly matter. Remembering death in the context of our morning routines transforms how we approach each day. It's not just another day, it's a day that we've been gifted, one that's not guaranteed to anyone. This realization can profoundly impact how we choose to spend our time, the activities we engage in, the relationships we nurture, and the legacy we strive to build. It's a reminder to live fully, to love deeply, and to leave the world a little better than we found it. This practice isn't about becoming morbid or obsessing over death. It's about developing what the Stoics called memento mori, a healthy awareness of life's fragility that motivates us to make the most of our time. When we truly understand that our days are numbered, we become more intentional about how we spend them. We waste less time on meaningless distractions and invest more energy in what truly matters. Moreover, This Stoic practice helps us maintain perspective in the face of life's inevitable challenges and setbacks. When we remember that our time is limited, the daily annoyances and obstacles lose much of their power over us. We become more resilient, more focused on our long-term goals, and less likely to be derailed by temporary difficulties. It's a practice that fosters gratitude for the present moment and inspires us to make the most of it. Think about how this awareness might change your morning routine. Instead of groggily stumbling through your first hour awake, you might approach it with reverence and intention. Instead of dreading the start of another day, you might feel grateful for the opportunity to experience another sunrise, to connect with loved ones, to pursue your goals, and to make a positive impact. So how can we incorporate this Stoic principle into our daily lives? It begins with a moment of reflection each morning. Consider the day ahead as a blank canvas, an opportunity to contribute positively to your life story and to those around you. Ask yourself, if this were my last day, would I be proud of how I'm choosing to spend it? This doesn't mean living in a constant state of existential crisis, but rather cultivating a deep appreciation for the now, for the opportunity to live, learn, and love. You might incorporate a brief meditation on mortality into your morning routine. This could be as simple as taking a moment to acknowledge that this day is a gift, that it's finite, and that you want to make it count. Some people find it helpful to imagine looking back on their life from their deathbed. What would they want to have accomplished? What relationships would they want to have nurtured? What experiences would they want to have had? This reflection naturally leads to better prioritization. When you remember that time is your most precious resource, you become more selective about how you spend it. You're less likely to waste hours on activities that don't align with your values or goals. You're more likely to reach out to people you care about, to pursue experiences that matter to you, and to work on projects that feel meaningful. In embracing the Stoic practice of remembering death, we're not focusing on the end, but on the present and how we choose to live each day. It's a powerful antidote to complacency and a reminder to live our lives with intention, purpose, and gratitude. So let's greet each morning with the awareness that it is a gift, an opportunity to craft a life that's rich in meaning and aligned with our deepest values. This is the essence of living stoically, of making the most of our finite time in this world to create a legacy that endures. We're often told to focus on the positive, to visualize success and happiness in order to attract them into our lives. However, the Stoics, in their profound wisdom, offer a different perspective that's not only practical but incredibly empowering. Negative visualization isn't about pessimism. Rather, it's a tool for resilience, preparation, and ultimately greater appreciation of the present. The essence of this practice is to periodically imagine the challenges, losses, or difficulties you might face in life. This could range from minor inconveniences like a missed bus or a rainy day to more significant hardships such as the loss of a job or a loved one. The purpose isn't to dwell on these scenarios in a way that breeds fear or anxiety, but to mentally rehearse how you would cope with such situations should they arise. This process of visualization prepares you emotionally and mentally, making you less susceptible to being thrown off course by life's inevitable ups and downs. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus all believed that by contemplating the temporary nature of everything outside our control, we could cultivate a deeper sense of peace and resilience. This practice encourages us to focus on what we can control, our responses, our attitudes, and our actions. Incorporating negative visualization into your morning routine can transform how you approach your day. Instead of stepping out the door blind to the potential challenges ahead, you're mentally equipped to face them. It's like a mental training session where you strengthen your resilience muscles, so when life inevitably throws a curveball your way, you're not knocked off your feet. You've already rehearsed this moment in your mind and can draw upon your pre-visualized strategies to navigate through it. Moreover, this practice has a beautiful, somewhat paradoxical effect. It enhances our gratitude for the present moment. By imagining life without some of the things we take for granted, we come back to reality with a renewed appreciation for them. It's a reminder of how much we have to be thankful for right now, in this moment. This isn't about dwelling in fear of loss, but about using the thought of it to deepen our appreciation for the here and now. Consider how this might work in practice. You might spend a few minutes imagining what your life would be like if you lost your job tomorrow. Rather than spiraling into anxiety, you use this visualization to appreciate the work you have now, to recognize the skills and relationships that would help you find new employment, and to mentally rehearse how you would handle such a situation with grace and determination. Or you might imagine losing your health temporarily, perhaps being bedridden for a week with illness. This visualization helps you appreciate your current vitality, motivates you to take better care of your body, and prepares you mentally for how you would cope with physical limitations. When you return to reality, you feel more grateful for your ability to move, to exercise, to engage actively with the world. The key to practicing negative visualization in a healthy, constructive way is to focus on your response rather than the scenario itself. Don't get lost in the details of imagined catastrophes. Instead, ask yourself, how would I want to respond to this challenge? What strengths would I draw upon? What lessons could I learn? How could I grow from this experience? This practice also builds what psychologists call psychological immunity. Just as vaccines introduce small amounts of a virus to help your body build immunity, negative visualization introduces small doses of imagined adversity to help your mind build resilience. When real challenges arise, you're better prepared because you've already considered how you might respond. Start with a few moments in the morning to contemplate potential challenges of the day or broader future possibilities. Visualize how you would ideally respond, what strengths you would draw upon, what lessons you could learn, and how you could grow from the experience. Then let go of the visualization and proceed with your day, carrying with you a sense of preparedness and an enhanced appreciation for your current circumstances. This practice shouldn't be lengthy or consume significant mental energy. Just a few minutes of thoughtful consideration can provide hours of psychological benefit. You might imagine getting stuck in traffic and visualize how you could use that time productively, listening to an audiobook, practicing breathing exercises, or simply accepting the situation with patience. When you actually encounter traffic later, you're prepared to respond calmly rather than with frustration. The goal isn't to become pessimistic or to expect the worst. Rather, it's to build confidence in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. When you've mentally rehearsed various scenarios, you develop what the Stoics called premeditation of evils, not because they were negative thinkers, but because they understood that preparation breeds resilience. Incorporating gratitude into our lives, especially as we end our day, can have a transformative impact on our well-being and outlook. Keeping a gratitude journal is a beautifully simple yet profoundly effective way to cultivate this sense of appreciation. It's about taking a few moments before we sleep to reflect on the day and jot down a few things we're grateful for. This could be anything from a kind gesture from a stranger, a beautiful sunset, the completion of a challenging task, or simply the comfort of our bed waiting to embrace us at the end of a long day. The act of writing down what we're grateful for shifts our focus from what's lacking in our lives to the abundance that's already present. It's a practice that aligns perfectly with Stoic teachings, which emphasize focusing on what we have rather than what we don't, on what's within our control rather than what isn't. This shift in perspective not only sets the stage for peaceful night's sleep, free from the turmoil of unfulfilled desires or lingering frustrations, but it also primes our minds to begin the next day with a sense of purpose and appreciation. But why end the day with gratitude? Because it allows us to close our day on a note of positivity, regardless of the challenges we may have faced. It's a way of reaffirming the good in our lives, of finding peace even in turmoil, and of nurturing a mindset that sees opportunities for growth and joy in every circumstance. This nightly practice of gratitude creates a ripple effect, influencing not just how we sleep, but how we wake up and approach our mornings. The practice transforms our first thoughts of the day from groans over the alarm clock to a quiet anticipation of what the new day holds, what new things we might discover to be grateful for. When you consistently end your day by acknowledging what went well, what you appreciated, and what you learned, you train your mind to look for these positive elements throughout the following day. Research in positive psychology has shown that people who regularly practice gratitude experience numerous benefits: better sleep quality, improved immune function, stronger relationships, increased optimism, and greater life satisfaction. These aren't just feel-good benefits. They're measurable improvements in both mental and physical health that compound over time. Moreover, this practice of appreciating our life extends beyond our personal sphere. It enhances our relationships as we become more attuned to the value of those around us and more expressive of our appreciation for their presence in our lives. When you regularly acknowledge the ways others contribute to your well-being, you naturally become more generous with praise, more attentive to kindnesses received, and more motivated to reciprocate positive actions. The gratitude practice also deepens our connection to the world as we become more observant of and thankful for the beauty and wonder that surround us, often in the most mundane moments. You might find yourself appreciating the way morning light filters through your window, the taste of your first sip of coffee, or the feeling of clean sheets against your skin. These small appreciations accumulate into a richer, more textured experience of daily life. To make this practice most effective, try to be specific in your gratitude entries. Instead of simply writing, "I'm grateful for my family," you might write, "I'm grateful for the way my daughter laughed when she told me about her day at school," or "I'm grateful for my partner's thoughtfulness in making my favorite dinner after a stressful day." Specific gratitude helps you relive positive moments and notice patterns of goodness in your life. You can also expand this practice beyond personal benefits to include gratitude for challenges and growth opportunities. Perhaps you're grateful for a difficult conversation that ultimately strengthened a relationship, or for a setback that taught you something important about resilience. This broader view of gratitude helps you maintain perspective during tough times and find meaning in all of your experiences. Consider making your gratitude practice more than just writing. You might express gratitude directly to people who have impacted your day positively. A quick text thanking a colleague for their help, a note to a family member expressing appreciation, or even a mental acknowledgement of a stranger's kindness can amplify the positive effects of your gratitude practice. The timing of gratitude practice can vary based on your preferences and schedule. Some people prefer morning gratitude to set a positive tone for the day, while others find evening gratitude helps them process and appreciate their experiences. You might even practice gratitude at multiple points throughout the day, taking brief moments to acknowledge good things as they happen. As we consider the multitude of strategies to enrich our mornings and, by extension, our lives, let's not overlook the power of ending our day with gratitude. It's a practice that embodies the Stoic pursuit of a good life, one marked not by external achievements or material possessions, but by inner peace, contentment, and a deep-seated appreciation for the present moment. As we wrap up this exploration of life-transforming practices inspired by Stoicism, it's clear that each step, each practice, is more than just a task or routine. Each element represents a pathway to cultivating a life of intention, resilience, and profound gratitude. Embracing these practices doesn't mean every day will be perfect, but it does mean that every day will be met with a stronger, more grateful, and more resilient version of yourself. The journey we've taken together reveals a fundamental truth that the ancient Stoics understood deeply. Happiness and fulfillment don't come from external circumstances or achievements, but from the quality of our thoughts, the intentionality of our actions, and our ability to find meaning and purpose in our daily lives. Each morning routine element we've discussed serves this larger purpose of character development and conscious living. When you wake up consistently at the same time, you're not just establishing a schedule, you're practicing the virtue of discipline and creating space for the other meaningful activities in your life. When you avoid morning distractions, you're not just protecting your time, you're honoring your own priorities and practicing the Stoic principle of focusing on what truly matters. When you prepare the night before, you're exercising wisdom and taking responsibility for creating the conditions that support your best self. The practice of finding your deeper purpose transforms everything else. When you understand why you're developing these habits, when you connect them to something larger than momentary comfort or convenience, they become sustainable and meaningful. Your morning routine stops being something you have to do and becomes something you get to do. An opportunity to align your actions with your values and move closer to becoming the person you want to be. The small acts of discipline we've discussed, making your bed, placing your alarm across the room, taking time for reflection, might seem trivial in isolation, but they're actually profound exercises in self-respect and self-efficacy. Each time you follow through on these small commitments to yourself, you're building evidence of your ability to be trusted, to follow through, and to choose your long-term well-being over momentary comfort. The social element of accountability partnerships reminds us that transformation doesn't have to be a solitary journey. The Stoics valued community and friendship as essential elements of a flourishing life. When you share your goals and struggles with others, you're not just increasing your chances of success, you're participating in the human experience of mutual support and encouragement that makes life richer and more meaningful. The practices of negative visualization and memento mori might initially seem dark or pessimistic, but they serve a profound purpose. They help us maintain perspective, appreciate what we have, and live with greater urgency and intentionality. When we remember that our time is limited and that challenges are inevitable, we're motivated to make the most of our opportunities and to face difficulties with greater resilience and wisdom. The gratitude practice that bookends our days serves as both a celebration of what we've received and a reminder of the abundance that surrounds us even in difficult times. It trains our minds to notice and appreciate the good in our lives, creating an upward spiral of positivity and contentment that makes every other practice easier and more natural. What makes these practices truly powerful is not any single element, but how they work together synergistically. Consistent wake times support discipline in other areas. Morning solitude creates space for reflection and intention setting. Evening preparation makes morning routines easier. Gratitude practice enhances our appreciation for the opportunity to engage in all the other practices. Accountability relationships provide support for maintaining all these habits over time. This holistic approach reflects the Stoic understanding that flourishing life isn't built on a single practice or achievement, but on the integration of wisdom, virtue, and intentional action across all areas of life. Each morning becomes an opportunity to practice these principles, and each day becomes a building block in the construction of a life well lived. You have within you the power to transform not just your mornings, but your entire life into a reflection of the Stoic ideals of virtue, wisdom, and contentment. The practices we've explored provide a roadmap, but the journey is yours to take. Remember, this is just the beginning. There's a whole world of Stoic wisdom waiting to be explored, ready to guide you on your path to living a more meaningful and fulfilled life. The transformation you're capable of isn't dependent on perfect execution or immediate results. It's built through consistent practice, self-compassion when you fall short, and the courage to begin again each day. Every morning offers a fresh opportunity to embody these principles, to choose growth over comfort, and to align your actions with your deepest values. As you move forward from here, carry with you the understanding that these practices are not destinations, but ongoing journeys. The goal isn't to master them once and be done, but to engage with them as lifelong opportunities for growth, learning, and self-discovery. Let each morning be a canvas on which you paint a life of intention, resilience, and gratitude. Here's to mornings filled with purpose, days lived with intention, and a life brimming with gratitude. The ancient wisdom of the Stoics remains as relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago, offering us practical tools for navigating the challenges and opportunities of modern life with grace, wisdom, and unwavering commitment to our highest values. Your journey toward a more intentional, resilient, and grateful life begins with the next decision you make, the next habit you choose to embrace, and the next morning you decide to greet with purpose and appreciation. The power to transform your life has been within you all along. These practices simply help you access and direct that power toward creating the life you truly want to live. When you think about mental noise, you surely picture those endless internal conversations, the worries, the fears, the what-if scenarios that occupy every corner of your thoughts. It's that cycle we unknowingly get trapped in, one that often paralyzes us. In the modern world, where distractions abound and demands seem endless, calming the mind has become a gigantic challenge. This is where Stoicism enters as a true compass for mental chaos, because in essence, Stoicism isn't just about enduring adversity, but about knowing how to navigate it with serenity and a clear mind. Imagine your mind as a vast ocean. Sometimes it's calm, other times the waves of chaos and confusion seem uncontrollable. How do you stay afloat in that turbulent sea? How do you find that tranquility you so desperately crave when it seems like external circumstances want to drag you under? This is where these 8 simple strategies, rooted in Stoic philosophy, will offer you a roadmap. They're not magic tricks, but life principles that the great sages of antiquity practiced daily and that we too can apply today, even in such a different world. One of the most profound teachings of Stoicism is the radical acceptance of reality as it is. Sometimes life doesn't go as we planned, and that's when our minds flood with frustration, anger, or sadness. But this is where the Stoics offer us a different perspective. Instead of fighting against what you can't change, accept what is as it is. Seneca perfectly summarizes this idea when he says, "Fate guides those who accept it, drags those who resist it." Internal resistance to what happens generates enormous mental distress. Think about how many times you've been frustrated by something that has already happened, or by a situation that didn't turn out as you expected. We resist reality because we want things to be different, and that desire to change the immutable creates constant tension in us. It's like rowing against the current, using all our energy to move in the opposite direction of what's occurring. Accepting what is doesn't mean being passive or resigning yourself to things never changing. Rather, it's about recognizing that there are moments in life we can't control or modify. Stoic acceptance is a way of releasing that resistance that consumes us. By doing so, our mind relaxes. It's about stopping the fight with reality and starting to flow with it. Sometimes resistance arises because we think accepting something negative means we agree with it or that we're allowing it to affect us. But in reality, acceptance is a way of creating mental space. When you accept what's happening, you take away the power it has over you. From that place of calm, you can think more clearly and make better decisions. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine you're trapped in traffic and realize you're going to be late for an important meeting. You have two options. You can mentally resist, curse the traffic, feel frustrated and stressed, which doesn't change anything. Or you can accept that you're in that situation and that it is what it is. The first option generates a lot of unnecessary mental noise, while the second gives you the peace of mind necessary to face the situation in the best possible way. Acceptance is like a muscle you can train. Every time you find yourself facing a situation you can't change, remember Seneca's words and ask yourself, am I letting this drag me along, or can I let it guide me? By accepting what you can't control, you reduce mental friction, and as a result, your mind calms down. Marcus Aurelius also understood this well when he said, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make of it." If you resist change, you constantly face frustration. But if you accept it as part of life, you find unexpected calm. Because life isn't what happens around us, but how we decide to interpret it and react to it. Accepting what is without resisting is one of the most powerful ways to calm your mind. It frees you from unnecessary stress, from the mental pain of wanting things to be different, and allows you to focus on what really matters, your attitude and your actions in the face of what happens. This is where the true magic of Stoicism enters, the focus on the present. One of the most renowned philosopher-emperors wrote in his meditations, "Man is consumed when he lets his mind wander through what happened or what is to come." The present is the only thing we must hold firmly. It's a teaching that, although simple, completely changes the way we live. Why? Because the mind has this habit of wandering between two extremes, the past and the future. We find ourselves trapped thinking about things that already happened. Why did I say that? Or, I should have done this differently. Or worrying about what might happen. What if I fail? Or, what if things don't turn out as I expect? This constant back and forth of the mind exhausts us, generates anxiety, and robs us of peace. The Stoic key is to center yourself in the now. The present is the only thing that truly exists and the only thing over which we have any real influence. Everything else is mental constructions, ghosts of something we can no longer change, or anticipations of what hasn't yet arrived. And here's the trick. The more time we spend focused on what isn't present, the further we are from mental calm. Practicing mindfulness, what today is also known as mindfulness, means bringing your mind to the current moment again and again. This doesn't mean you ignore the past or future, but that you learn to recognize when you're getting caught up in them and consciously bring your attention back to the present. It's daily training, and at first it might seem difficult because our mind is so accustomed to wandering. But the more you practice it, the more you realize how powerful this tool is for calming the mind. Think about those moments when you're completely immersed in something. It could be an interesting conversation, a book that captivates you, or even something as simple as enjoying a meal without distractions. In those moments, your mind is tranquil. There are no worries because you're completely present in what you're doing. That's the essence of this strategy. One technique you can start practicing is simply paying attention to your breathing. When you feel your mind beginning to fill with thoughts about the past or future, pause and take a few deep breaths. Focus on the sensation of air entering and leaving your body. This anchors you to the present. Marcus Aurelius also mentioned this. Pay attention to what's in front of you, to the tasks you have at this moment. When you learn to train your mind to return to the now, something incredible happens. All that mental noise starts to diminish. Thoughts don't disappear, but they no longer drag you along with the same intensity. In the present, there's no room for regrets about the past or anxieties about the future. Only what you're doing in this precise instant, and that gives you a sense of calm and control that's difficult to achieve any other way. In summary, practicing mindfulness helps you cut those endless cycles of thoughts that fill your mind with unnecessary noise. By bringing your attention back to the present, you realize that the here and now is sufficient. And when your mind settles in the present moment, that's when you truly find mental peace. Emotional detachment is one of those Stoicism tools that, when you understand and apply them, can completely transform your way of seeing the world. We're not talking about becoming a cold or distant person. On the contrary, Stoic detachment is about loving deeply, committing to people and situations, but without letting your happiness depend completely on results or things that are outside your control. Seneca explained it clearly when he said, "Love, but as someone who knows it won't last forever." Sounds harsh, right? But the purpose behind this is that when we become too emotionally attached to something, a person, a possession, an idea of the future, we end up being slaves to it. The moment something changes, whether due to external circumstances or the very nature of life, attachment generates unnecessary suffering for us. What does it really mean to practice emotional detachment? It means living fully, appreciating what you have and the relationships you've built, but without clinging to the idea that without those things you couldn't be happy. Think about how many times you've experienced anxiety or mental pain because you feared losing something, a job, a relationship, an opportunity. That feeling of emotional dependence fills us with fear, and when reality doesn't align with our expectations, suffering is inevitable. Detachment isn't cold indifference. It's a way of freeing yourself from the control that external results have over your well-being. The Stoics believed you could love something deeply, but also understand that everything is temporary. When you manage to practice this type of detachment, your mind calms because you're no longer constantly worried about what you might lose. You live the present with gratitude, but without demanding that everything be permanent. A daily example of this could be attachment to material goods. Imagine you have a car that you love. It's fine to take care of it and appreciate it, but if you become too emotionally attached to it, the slightest dent or mechanical problem could ruin your day, even your week. Practicing detachment would be saying, I value this car, but I understand it's just an object, and if tomorrow I no longer have it, I'll be fine. This not only frees you from anxiety, but also gives you a healthier perspective on the things you have. Epictetus also offered us a profound vision of detachment when he said, "Never say about anything, 'I have lost it,' but rather, 'I have returned it.'" The idea here is that everything in life is temporary, and that instead of seeing losses as something taken from you, you can see them as a natural part of life, something you've simply returned to the cycle of things. This mentality completely changes how you face losses, whether large or small. When you start practicing emotional detachment, you notice that situations that used to fill you with anxiety or stress begin to lose their weight. It's not that you become indifferent, but that you no longer allow those situations to control your mental peace. You realize that true happiness and tranquility come from within you, not from what you possess or the people in your life. Detachment offers you incredible mental freedom. By not being emotionally tied to results, you can enjoy life in a fuller, more present way, without the constant worry of losing what you love. And in that freedom is where you really find calm. One of the most powerful practices the Stoics teach us is daily self-reflection. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, used to write about his thoughts, his actions, and how he had faced the day's difficulties. It wasn't just a habit, it was a tool for constant improvement. He said, "At the end of the day, take stock of yourself and examine your actions. What have I done wrong? What have I done well? What can I improve?" This habit of daily reflection is one of the best ways to calm your mind and direct it toward continuous growth. Why is it so important? Because our mind is often full of noise, not just from what happens around us, but also from our own lack of internal clarity. We go through life on autopilot, repeating the same mistakes, reacting in the same ways, and often without stopping to think why. Daily reflection gives us the opportunity to pause, observe our behavior, and take control of our thoughts and actions. Imagine at the end of each day, before sleeping, taking a few minutes to reflect on what you did. It's not about judging yourself or being hard on yourself, but about looking at yourself with curiosity and honesty. How did you handle difficult situations? Were there moments when you lost your calm? Did you make decisions you feel proud of? This simple act of reviewing your day helps you understand yourself better and identify patterns in your behavior that might be causing stress or mental agitation. Seneca also spoke about this habit of daily reflection. He said, "At the end of the day, be a judge of yourself. Write it all down, examine your words and your thoughts, for each day is an entire life." By doing this type of self-evaluation, you become more aware of yourself and more capable of adjusting your approach when things don't go as expected. Moreover, this reflection doesn't just help you identify your mistakes, but also celebrate your small achievements. We live in a world that moves so fast that we often don't notice the good things we do. Reflecting allows you to recognize those moments when you maintained calm, made a good decision, or acted with wisdom. These small recognitions are fundamental for reinforcing your mental tranquility and building a stronger, more balanced mind. The idea is simple. Each night, dedicate a few minutes to thinking about your day. If you prefer, you can write it down in a journal like Marcus Aurelius did. This not only helps you process your thoughts, but also gives you a space to release worries that might still be circling your mind before sleep. It's a way to clean your mind of any residual stress and start the next day with a calmer and clearer mind. A useful exercise you can practice is asking yourself 3 things each night. What have I done well today? What could I have done better? How can I improve tomorrow? By doing this, you not only train yourself to be more present and conscious of your actions, but you also give your mind a sense of closure at the end of the day. This helps release mental noise and promotes more tranquil sleep, since you don't go to bed with unresolved thoughts. This habit of daily reflection, when practiced consistently, creates a cycle of constant improvement. It helps you correct mistakes, strengthen your decisions, and keep your mind focused on what really matters. Additionally, it gives you a sense of control over your life and your emotions, which reduces stress and anxiety. The Stoics knew that the root of an agitated and anxious mind isn't external situations, but how we interpret those situations. Epictetus explained it brilliantly. It's not what happens to you, but how you interpret it. This phrase captures the essence of the power we have over our mind. Although we can't always control what happens around us, we can control how we respond to it, and that starts with our thoughts. Our mind is like a garden. If we're not careful, weeds, negative thoughts, fears, worries can take over everything. And if you think about it, it's easy to let our negative thoughts get out of control. A simple mistake or setback can lead us into a spiral of self-critical or catastrophic thoughts. Everything's going wrong. I'll never be able to fix this. I'm a failure. This type of thinking generates unnecessary mental noise, and before you know it, your mind is full of chaos. The Stoic key is learning to observe your thoughts with distance, almost like a spectator. You don't have to believe everything that passes through your head. Epictetus also reminds us, men are not disturbed by things, but by the opinion they have of them. This phrase invites us to pause and question those automatic thoughts that generate anguish. Is it really as bad as I think? Is there another way to interpret this situation? Controlling your thoughts doesn't mean suppressing or ignoring them, but questioning them and directing them in a more constructive way. Every time you feel your mind starting to fill with negative or overwhelming thoughts, you can ask yourself, is this thought helping me or making the situation worse? If the answer is that it's making things worse, you have the power to change it, to focus on something more useful or positive. This is where the Stoics introduce the idea of discipline of thought. This discipline is a habit that's built over time and is about training your mind so it doesn't dominate you with uncontrolled thoughts. Imagine your mind is like a wild horse. At first, it might be difficult to direct it, but with patience and practice, you can take the reins and lead it where you want. A useful exercise you can practice is Stoic reframing. When you find yourself thinking something negative or stressful, try to reframe that thought from a more objective perspective. For example, if you're facing a problem at work, instead of thinking, "I'll never be able to solve this," you could reframe it as, "This is a challenge, but I can learn something from it." By doing this, you reduce the power of negative thoughts and calm your mind. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, also spoke about this capacity to control our thoughts. He said, "Your soul is dyed with the color of your thoughts." This means that what you think directly affects how you feel. If you fill your mind with dark or negative thoughts, your life will feel that way. But if you learn to guide your thoughts towards something more constructive, more rational, your mind will start to find peace. By controlling your thoughts, you not only reduce mental noise, but also become more aware of yourself. You realize that you have the power to choose how to react to any situation, and that realization is liberating. You can't always change what happens, but you can change the narrative your mind creates about it. One of the most effective ways to calm the mind is learning to pause. In modern society, we're constantly bombarded by stimuli, messages, emails, social media, tasks that seem never-ending. And without realizing it, we fall into the frenetic rhythm of life where taking a pause seems almost impossible or even unnecessary. But the Stoics teach us something valuable. Pauses aren't a luxury. They're a necessity for maintaining a tranquil and focused mind. Marcus Aurelius spoke about the importance of taking moments for oneself in the midst of chaos, saying, "People seek retreats in the countryside, at the beach, or in the mountains, but where they should retreat most is within themselves." This phrase is an invitation to find moments of pause, of introspection, in the midst of our daily lives. You don't need to go on vacation or withdraw from the world to find calm. You can do it at any moment, simply by giving yourself permission to stop. Why are pauses so important? Because when we keep going without stopping, our mind becomes saturated. We become less productive, more irritable, and our thinking becomes more chaotic. Pauses, even brief ones, allow your mind to breathe. It's like giving your brain a respite, an opportunity to recharge and reorganize. One of the Stoic techniques you can apply is the conscious pause. Every so often during the day, stop for a few minutes, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and simply sit in silence. You don't have to do anything complicated, just be present with yourself. This pause can last only a couple of minutes, but the effect it has on your mind is incredible. It's like giving your brain a reset button, calming all the noise and returning you to the present moment. Additionally, making intentional pauses also helps you be more conscious of your actions. Instead of automatically reacting to the situations you face, you can take a moment to consider your response. As Epictetus said, "When you face any difficulty, pause before acting and reflect." This small pause before reacting not only helps calm your mind, but also allows you to act more reflectively and less impulsively. A practical example of this could be when you face a stressful situation at work. Maybe you're dealing with a large amount of tasks or a difficult conversation with a colleague. Instead of letting stress control you, make an intentional pause. Stop, breathe deeply, and give yourself a moment to center yourself. Instead of letting your emotions drag you along, you take control of your response. Pauses also allow you to reconnect with yourself during the day. Often we get lost in external expectations and demands and forget what we really need. These pauses allow you to check how you feel, how your body is, and what your mind needs. It's an act of self-care that, although simple, has a great impact on your overall well-being. The beautiful thing about intentional pauses is that they can be incorporated anywhere and at any time. You can pause while walking to work, while waiting in line, or even while sitting at your desk. These moments of conscious stopping become oases of calm in the middle of a busy day, helping you maintain mental clarity and emotional balance. Gratitude is a tremendously powerful tool for calming the mind and is often underestimated. The Stoics understood that gratitude isn't just an act of courtesy, but a mental habit that can completely transform the way you perceive your life. Seneca expressed it in a very simple but profound way. It is not the person who has little, but the person who always wants more, who is poor. In other words, our dissatisfaction comes more from our focus on what we lack than from recognizing what we already have. Mental noise often arises from the constant desire to have more, to be more, to achieve things we believe we're missing. We live in a culture that bombards us with the idea that we're not enough and that we always need something more to be happy. This generates chronic dissatisfaction that keeps us in a state of constant agitation. But gratitude, that simple act of appreciating what you already have, is like an antidote against that mentality. Practicing gratitude isn't about ignoring problems or being conformist. On the contrary, it's about training your mind to recognize the good things that are already present in your life, no matter how small they may be. The Stoics believe that by learning to appreciate what you have, you reduce the noise of dissatisfaction and find deeper calm. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Remember that you don't need much to live a happy life." A simple but powerful exercise you can start doing is dedicating a few minutes each day to reflect on the things you're grateful for. It doesn't have to be anything complicated or grandiose. It can be something as simple as having a roof over your head, a good friend to talk to, or even the coffee you enjoyed this morning. These small things, when you consciously recognize them, start to change your perspective and consequently calm your mind. Imagine that every time you feel overwhelmed by problems or stress, instead of focusing on what you lack, you shift your focus to what you already have. It's a 180-degree turn. For example, if you're worried about money, instead of obsessing over what you don't have, you could reflect on what you've already achieved, the opportunities you've had, or even the simple fact of having enough to eat and dress yourself. This doesn't magically solve problems, but it takes you out of the cycle of negative thoughts that generate anxiety and allows you to see things more clearly. Gratitude also has the power to change your relationship with people. Often we focus on what others don't do for us, on what bothers or disappoints us, which increases emotional noise in our mind. But if instead you practice gratitude for the small things people do, relationships improve and you feel more at peace. The practice of gratitude extends beyond recognizing material things or obvious blessings. You can also be grateful for challenges that have helped you grow, for difficult experiences that have taught you important lessons, or for setbacks that have shown you your own resilience. This broader perspective on gratitude helps you find meaning and value even in life's more difficult moments. At the end of the day, gratitude is a way of accepting that although things aren't perfect, there's much we can be grateful for. Seneca also reminds us that gratitude isn't just something we feel internally, but something we should also express. Telling the people around you how grateful you are for their presence or for what they've done for you not only strengthens your relationships, but also calms your mind by creating an environment of appreciation and positivity. When you make gratitude a daily practice, you start to notice a shift in your overall mental state. Problems don't disappear, but they lose some of their overwhelming power. You begin to see your life through a lens of abundance rather than scarcity, and this fundamental shift in perspective naturally leads to greater mental peace and emotional stability. One of the greatest sources of mental noise is clinging to the past, the mistakes we made, the opportunities we lost, or the things that hurt us. Our mind gets trapped in that cycle, going over and over what we can no longer change. In doing so, we end up generating unnecessary emotional and mental burden. But the Stoics had a clear vision about this. Epictetus reminds us, "What has happened cannot be changed, but how you carry it depends completely on you." The idea of letting go of the past doesn't mean ignoring it or pretending it never happened, but accepting what was and understanding that you can no longer do anything to change it. The past is immovable, and the energy you spend thinking about what could have been only generates more stress and anxiety. By learning to let it go, you free yourself from that emotional weight, and your mind finds more space for peace. When you cling to the past, it's like carrying a backpack full of stones. Each painful memory, each mistake you made, each bad decision is another stone you carry. There comes a point when that backpack becomes so heavy it affects your ability to enjoy the present. Stoicism teaches us to leave that backpack behind, to learn from mistakes, but not to live trapped in them. Seneca explained it brilliantly when he said, "Don't let the past rob you of the present." Because that's what happens when we don't let go of the past. It prevents us from fully living the here and now. Every time our mind gets entangled in, "I should have done this," or "I should have said that," we're wasting the opportunity to live with serenity in the present moment. So how can you effectively let go of the past? One of the first things you can do is reflect on what ties you to that memory. Is it a mistake you made? A situation that didn't turn out as you expected? Ask yourself, can I change this now? If the answer is no, then it's time to let it go. This doesn't mean you can't learn from that experience, but once you've learned, it no longer makes sense to keep carrying it. Forgiveness also plays a fundamental role in letting go of the past, and not just forgiveness toward others, but forgiveness toward yourself. We're often our own worst critics, and the things we can't let go of are many times the mistakes we made. But here enters Stoic wisdom. You can't change what you did, but you can decide not to let it continue haunting you. By forgiving yourself, you free yourself from the burden of remorse and allow your mind to calm. Epictetus also said something key. It's impossible to learn if we're not willing to let go of our mistakes, because clinging to the past keeps you stuck. If you keep living in what you did wrong, you'll never be able to move forward to what you could do right now. Learning comes from recognition and acceptance of our failures, not from obsession with them. A useful exercise to help you let go of the past is visualization. Imagine those painful memories or those mistakes are like balloons you're holding in your hands. Visualize how little by little you release them and watch them drift away until they disappear in the distance. It's not about making them completely disappear from your memory, but about stopping clinging to them so tightly. This simple mental act can help you feel lighter and release the emotional charge those memories generate. The process of letting go is ongoing and requires patience with yourself. Some memories or regrets might surface repeatedly, and that's normal. The key is to practice the same response each time. Acknowledge the memory, accept that it's part of your past, extract any lesson it might offer, and then consciously choose to release it. Remember that holding on to the past not only affects your mental peace, but also your ability to make good decisions in the present. When your mind is clouded by old resentments, regrets, or disappointments, you can't see current opportunities clearly or respond to present challenges with your full capacity. As we reach the end of this exploration of Stoic strategies for calming the mind, it becomes clear that each of these practices works together to create a comprehensive approach to mental peace. These aren't isolated techniques, but interconnected principles that support and strengthen each other when practiced consistently. The beauty of these Stoic approaches lies in their practical applicability to modern life. While the world has changed dramatically since Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus walked the earth, the fundamental challenges of human consciousness remain remarkably similar. We still struggle with anxiety about the future, regret about the past, attachment to outcomes beyond our control, and the constant chatter of an undisciplined mind. What makes these practices particularly powerful is their focus on what you can actually control. Rather than trying to change external circumstances or other people, Stoicism directs your attention to the one domain where you have real power: your own thoughts, reactions, and choices. This shift from external to internal focus is perhaps the most liberating aspect of Stoic philosophy. When you practice radical acceptance, you're not giving up your agency, you're redirecting it toward more effective channels. When you focus on the present moment, you're not ignoring the future, you're ensuring that your actions in the now are conscious and intentional. When you practice emotional detachment, you're not becoming cold. You're freeing yourself to love more fully without the fear of loss dominating your experience. The daily reflection practice ties all these elements together, creating a feedback loop of continuous improvement and self-awareness. By regularly examining your thoughts, reactions, and behaviors, you become more skilled at applying these principles when you need them most, in the heat of challenging moments. Taking control of your thoughts is perhaps the most fundamental skill, as it underlies all the others. When you realize that you have the power to question, examine, and redirect your thinking patterns, you discover a level of freedom that external circumstances cannot touch. This isn't about positive thinking or denial. It's about rational evaluation and conscious choice in how you interpret and respond to your experiences. The practice of intentional pausing creates space for all these other skills to operate. In the gap between stimulus and response, in those moments of conscious pause, you can choose which Stoic principle to apply, which perspective to take, which response to offer. Without these pauses, you remain reactive, at the mercy of immediate emotions and impulses. Gratitude practice serves as both a foundation and a result of the other practices. When you regularly acknowledge what's good in your life, you create a positive baseline that makes acceptance easier, detachment more natural, and present moment awareness more pleasant. At the same time, the other practices help you notice and appreciate things you might otherwise take for granted. Finally, letting go of the past completes the circle by freeing up mental and emotional energy that can be redirected toward these positive practices. When you're not carrying the weight of old resentments, regrets, and disappointments, you have more capacity for presence, acceptance, and conscious choice. The integration of these practices creates what the Stoics called ataraxia, a state of serene calmness and untroubled tranquility. This isn't a permanent state of bliss, but rather a default setting of mental stability that allows you to navigate life's inevitable ups and downs with greater equanimity. Remember that developing these capacities is a lifelong practice. You don't master them once and then coast. You engage with them daily, sometimes successfully and sometimes not. The goal isn't perfection, but progress, not the elimination of all mental disturbance, but the development of tools to handle disturbance when it arises. As you move forward with these practices, be patient with yourself. The ancient Stoics understood that wisdom is earned through consistent effort over time, not achieved through sudden insight or quick fixes. Each day offers new opportunities to apply these principles, to strengthen these mental muscles, and to move closer to the ideal of a calm, clear, and purposeful mind. The modern world will continue to present challenges to your mental peace. That's guaranteed. But with these time-tested Stoic strategies, you have a toolkit for maintaining your equilibrium, regardless of what external circumstances might arise. The noise of the world doesn't have to become the noise of your mind. You have the power to choose calm, and these practices show you how to exercise that power effectively. In the end, the journey toward mental calm isn't about reaching a destination, but about how you travel. With these Stoic principles as your guide, that journey becomes not just more manageable, but more meaningful, more intentional, and more aligned with your deepest values and aspirations.